Showtime. All right, so we have a special guest today, a very, very special guest. This is actually the first collab that I've done with a woman since I believe, on my channel at least, since 2019. 2019 or 2020. It's been a very, very long time, and I'd say it was well worth the wait because we have somebody very, very special today, a lot of insight to give. So I know that you guys will find some value from this stream. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, that'd be great.
Hello, how you guys doing? My name is Amanda, as in who's that? Oh man, duh. Um, and I hope to make it as your future wingman, duh. I got a
What do you mean?
bachelor's, I got a bachelor's degree in the fine arts, but a master's in the art of pickup, and I'm here to turn you fine ASS simps into forever freaking pimps. So
You
there
love
you
to see it. Got the whole mission statement and everything.
go.
You love to see it. So, could you just explain how you got started on YouTube? Because I remember watching the stream with you and Pierre. I forgot which one it was, but I remember you were very hesitant about starting a channel, and we were pressing you. We kept pressing you because what I've realized over time is that it's always the people that are hesitant at first that end up doing the best on YouTube for whatever reason. So, I'm looking at your channel now. You have 300 subscribers, and you just started like what, a month ago, month and a half, 2 months ago. So, I mean, that's really, really good growth. Very good growth. So, how did you develop the courage to start speaking your truth and put yourself into the manosphere of all places, which is amongst the most toxic places that you can ever find on the internet?
Oh my gosh, such a good question. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I stumbled across this content May of 2021, and it took me till honestly a year after that till I actually started making videos. Exactly like a year. I when I first kind of stumbled across this content, I'm somebody, I'm not like big on social media. I deleted all my social media in a 2019 after
Love to
high
see it.
school. Yeah, after I graduated high school, I went to this, like, my parents sent me to this sort of like boot camp thing because I wasn't good at high school. I wasn't going to class, and I barely graduated by, like,
Oh, wait, hold on. We got to touch on that real quick. We got to touch on that. I would have never expected that. I would have
really.
never expected that just from watching your videos and hearing you talk. So, like, what was going on with that? Like, were you just, was it just a phase that you were going through, or was it just you don't like school, or what?
Yeah, so like it was weird. So like I had like and not like so when I was 15 years old, because I was just pretty much living a great life, whatever, I guess. I was 15 years old and I was a sophomore in high school, and my house actually like caught on fire, and it set me into like so like I lost some things, and that gave me like an existential crisis.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, like, everything was fine in my life. Like, I was just like, pretty like a normie, if you will, like I like just pretty normal. Everything was good. And then when and nobody died, like it wasn't super bad
Okay.
or anything like that. It was just a thing that happened. But when that happened, I sort of had an existential crisis, and I was like, that's like, it really changed the trajectory of my life from then on. And I was just sort of like, why am I here? Why am I alive? Why is like, and then I sort of looked at everybody in my high school. They were very like engrossed into like social media culture. And I was like, oh, what's going on? Like, this is just, I sort of felt unhappy and I didn't know why. And I felt like I shouldn't have been feeling unhappy. Like, I feel like our generation is very blessed in a lot of ways, and I was confused as to why I wasn't happy in it. So I just had my whole emo phase, and I just didn't go to class. And then after that, my parents, like, I barely graduated high school, and they sent me to boot camp, which was like naked and afraid but with clothes on, like basically for 2 weeks. Like, I slept on a rock outside,
A
like,
rock is crazy.
like a huge rock.
What the fuck?
I didn't shower for the entire 2 weeks I was there. There was like, this wasn't like, like, this was like fun summer camp with like a cabin. This was like, we're going into the wilderness. We're going to find a place to camp, or we're not. Like, it was very much survival mode, sort of like boot camp. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. However, I did it the summer after I graduated high school. And it was the happiest moments of my life because I was like, for once, I felt like I was in the moment.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's when I came to the realization like, oh, the construct of social media is the corruption of our generation. So I just deleted all my social media apps and everything.
That's a very heavy statement to make. The construct of social media is the corruption of our generation. That's a very heavy statement to make. And I do feel like that applies to dating as well. And I like that you touched on just that traumatic event that occurred in your life as far as your house catching on fire, because a lot of people don't understand just how much your trauma affects the trajectory of your life. And with that being said, I want to touch on the banner of your channel: how to heal trauma from women, break free of limiting beliefs, and reach your fullest potential. What does that mean to you?
Um, so I felt like the the dating market for men on the internet, it really just stinks because it sort of provides a lot of dudes with this. First of all, as a woman and with my friends and everything, I can't tell you how much red pill and black pill like doesn't isn't how a lot of reality works, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I felt as though men taking in this content counterintuitively will actually create fear around women and also alienate women from them and make them think that women are so different from them. And I'm not saying that women are similar. That's not what I mean. But I think it really, in a counterintuitive way, makes men fear not only just women, but like that they're not good enough as well. And I like my famous, like not famous, but like the thing that I constantly say is like, if black pill and red pill were true, I wouldn't have been born. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not,
Yeah.
not to say that that's all, not to say that there's not any truth to it, but it's not, I don't know. I feel as though it's a bit of a limiting belief, and I think it hurts men more than it helps them. Is my whole entire thing. So, I don't think men's self worth should come from a number, and I don't think it has to. Like, I'm all about
Sure.
on my channel. I've studied pickup, and I know pickup like is sort of a meme, sort of kind of thing. However, I've literally watched all red pill, all black pill, and all pickup, and the only thing I can find that's the truest of amongst all of those is pickup. And because women are energy feelers, we're emotional. And I'm telling you,
Yes.
like asking a woman, for instance, if you show, there's a lot of, for black pill, there's a lot of, oh, women only find this attractive versus that. So let's say, and there's statistics about it, like psychology research has been done. So let's say man A is on, let's say this is an actual like study psychologically done on a woman to see which person she finds more attractive. And man A is on, the projector or whatever in the classroom, and he's super attractive. He looks like an Abercrombie model or something like that. And then man B is also on the projector, and he's an average looking guy, whatever. A lot of women will circle man A, but also so would men. Like, you know what I mean? Like he just looks like a model. He has like some symmetrical features, things like that. However, something super interesting about that is, of course, in their logical mindset, they're in they're doing a psychological study. They're in a classroom. Like they're not on a date with man A or man B. And
Yeah.
if man A and man B were to jump out of the screen, average looking dude B, hot male A, and if male A doesn't have a good personality or charisma, and man B does, majority of the women will be attracted to man B. I mean, think about Pete Davidson. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
So
For
it's
sure.
objectively speaking, yes, men are like certain men are attractive, but that's why like you gotta approach women, in my opinion, in person, no matter what you look like, because if you have the right energy, you will be able to attract women. When you're asking a woman what she desires, she's in her logical mindset. She's just I can't tell you. All my friends, I there's a reason why I'm giving dating advice to men and not women. They're Giving dating advice to women is the hardest thing you will ever do in your life. It's impossible.
Facts.
It's impossible. Because if they're in love with you, they're in love with you. Like, because women are emotional, quite literally. You know, so yeah, that's
No,
just my.
that makes a lot of sense. I actually saw you comment this in one of your recent videos. You were replying to somebody's comment, and I really want to touch on this because this is a conclusion that I came to a while back as well. Is the notion of hypergamy is rooted in the assumption that women think logically like men do, right? Because you got to think about it. If we're talking about, oh, this guy is going to give me the highest chance of survival, that's logical thinking, is it not? And I think that's the biggest barrier for modern dating is people try to they assume that the other gender or other genders, whatever, they assume that the other parties see things the same way that they do. There's a lack of empathy. There's a general lack of empathy and compassion in this day and age, which is ironic because we're the most connected that we've ever been, and yet also the most disconnected.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why it's very important for people like you and people like me to help bridge that gap between people. I mean, I'm not necessarily a dating coach, nor do I claim to be, but that is something that I like to touch on is just trauma and overcoming limiting beliefs, overcoming your childhood trauma that you experienced that shaped your perceptions of yourself and by extension, your perceptions of the world around you, including but not limited to dating. And I like that you brought up statistics there because a lot of people don't understand that you can't quantify love. You can't quantify love because it's literally all gray area. It's all nuance. You can't make it black and white. That's why when people bring up divorce rates and things like that, it's like, well, there's a lot of context behind that. You don't know. You try to, most marriages end because of financial reasons. But it's like, what does that even mean? How do you know that those people are telling the truth? Like, you never actually know these things. Exactly. So now here's my personal take on what you said. It goes right along with what you said. I feel like women value one thing above all else, and that thing is confidence. I feel like women value confidence because even from a hypergamy standpoint, let's say biologically, a woman is naturally going to understand, not just women, but men as well, they're going to understand that the most confident person is generally going to give them the highest chance of survival. Right? I mean, it's just like naturally, like we're naturally inclined to follow the most confident people. Look at the people who have the most subscribers on YouTube, the people who have the most influence socially, who have the most status. They tend to be the most confident. And I think the reason why the red and black pill communities exist is because they conflate confidence with those other things, which oftentimes confidence can be the byproduct of those things and also the cause. It's kind of a positive feedback loop. But confidence is the ultimate defining factor in attracting women, in my opinion. I want to know, what do you think about that? Like, do you think it's really just confidence, or do you think there's other factors that are more involved in that?
No, I think confidence is a great word, and just to like a synonym from that word too, that I like just slightly a little bit better is charisma. But it goes hand in hand. Like, you can't be charismatic if you're super insecure, kind of thing. Yeah. But exactly, it is confidence. But just like the word I just like exactly better is charisma. But they're both very similar words at the end of the day. And that's the thing, is that a lot of men in self-improvement, they do all these things to improve themselves, and then maybe they start getting attraction from women, but I feel as though they're correlating the wrong kind of things, because really it was confidence. It was the fact that they started to love themselves that attracted women to them, that kind of thing. But I think charisma too, like confidence and charisma, like those two words, like honestly, is like the way to go. And the thing is that because like the black pill is such a limiting belief, I can't even tell you.
For sure.
I
For
can't
sure.
even,
I'm already knowing.
like, even if you watch a TikTok of a woman saying, "Oh, I will only date a guy if he's 6 feet," like just listen. Like, I swear on my, like, I swear, if she's on a date or if she's talking to a guy that's short and has more charisma and has this charm to him, that goes out the window immediately. It takes like 5.5 seconds. It doesn't even take that long.
Exactly.
It takes 0 seconds. And that goes out the window. Like, in theory, women want this, this, and that. So then guys will interview women and ask them these things, but that's a woman looking at things from a logical perspective. The only way women aren't logical is if you go up and talk to them, then immediately, and if you have the emotions and the charm and the charisma, she will date you if you're shorter than her even. I swear. Like, my younger brother, his girlfriend is an inch taller than him, and she loves him. Like, they've been together for a year. She's absolutely head over heels. Like, she bought him, like, she buys him, like, she's just like one of the best girlfriends ever. I'm like, oh my god, he does not deserve her. No, I'm kidding, but
That's
she's
crazy.
one of the best. No, but she really is, and she's literally taller than him. Like, of course a woman's gonna answer like, oh, 6 foot, because of that's just the logical mind. But if you can approach a woman and give her that charm, immediately that goes out the window. And I think it's a bit of a disservice to me, because my channel isn't saying that all women are good at
Yeah,
all.
for sure.
At all. It's the complete opposite. I think also a lot of men in relationships, um, that are great men, think that they can't ask for more out of a woman or out of life because they're like, oh, I was lucky enough to get this one girl. Like, that happens so often, and that's a disgrace, like, in my opinion. Lots of men just underestimate their ability to be the creator in their own lives, and there's many men out there in relationships that are just settling, you know and it's like, you don't have to have 6 feet. And if money's important to you, that's fine. That's not what I'm saying, but, like, don't use it to attract women, because you'll only attract the wrong kinds of women. That's why red pill is just such a limiting belief, you know
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. I've been trying to tell these people, look, I've been trying to tell these people this shit since 2020, okay? Money does not matter for the vast majority of women. Okay, here's the thing. You could be making $500,000 a year, but you're living well below your means. So what difference does that money make in the context of her life? If you're not spending that money on lavish vacations and buying her Birkin bags and stuff like that, and I'm referring to the gold diggers here. And the average woman, she's not going to care about that. She's not going to expect that. Now, something that I want to touch on real quick is, you said that when a man approaches a woman and he has the emotions, amongst other things. The first video of yours that I watched was, I believe it was called, what was it called? It was like Why Modern Men Suck at Dating, I think.
Mhm.
And in the video, you like drew a chart out where you showed that women are becoming more career oriented while still maintaining their foundation, their biological foundation of emotional intelligence. Whereas men, they're still career oriented, but they're not developing that emotional intelligence. So I've been trying to tell these people this for well over a year now, but maybe they'll listen to you, or maybe they'll listen if it comes from you. So could you please tell them the importance of embracing their emotions and just understanding their emotions to develop that emotional intelligence to better empathize with women?
Oh my gosh, yes, that's but also all the way, like, great questions. I really appreciate what you're
Thank
asking,
you.
but because this is my life purpose. I'm not gonna lie. I really, I feel so blessed to be in this position, to be helping any dude out there, because I feel like it's so sad that the internet provides such a misunderstanding, etc. Anyways, but yeah, no. So because we're in this is 2022, and if you, I don't know where everybody here lives, but if you're not at war, and if you're not in a survival sort of way of going about life, then the thing is, and I show, like, the Maslow's pyramid of needs, and basically, when your survival needs are met, then you have to be reaching enlightenment and overcoming emotions, essentially, is what it's saying. So if you're
Yeah.
not in it, and this is a great thing, it's very great that we're not in, I know emotions suck, and I know social isolation is super tough. I'm not, like, denying any of that, But it's really great that as humans in the society that we're living in right now, that we're not in a state of war or any of that. Like nobody is, going into concentration camps right now. Unlike, if you live in Russia, like that's not, then it's a completely different story. And it's super sad what's happening. Um, over there in Russia, whatever, Ukraine. But so I'm saying is like, if you're not in a survival state of mind, what's happening is that emotions and feelings are going to come up because all your survival needs are met. You're not looking for shelter. You're not looking for food. You're not looking for this. You're not looking for that. So you have to develop, you don't have to, but it would be of a benefit to you to develop emotional intelligence in a way that you can, because we're all blessed. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. A lot of us are very blessed in the generation that we're born in and the way that we can choose to be our authentic selves versus back then you just couldn't. So I feel like Red Pill romanticizes the past, but the past was just easier because in the sense it was easier because people lacked options.
Yeah.
So when they say like, oh, like the gender roles, like let's go back to that. It's like, well, my papa, he was in he literally served in one of the wars, but in the aircraft mechanics area or whatever. And he was born in like the 1920s, and he literally says that the only problem you will ever have in life is yourself, and you are the only solution. And he's
Damn.
not even a part of our generation. He's far from it. And he was such a great man. And I'm like, I'm shocked because I was like, wait, he's like, his generation was way harder than ours is, honestly. Not to downplay the emotional demons that we are all having right now at all, but we really have to embrace moving up the pyramid of our needs to enlightenment if we want to live a fulfilling life, because we're not in survival mode. We're not looking for like food and things like that, if that makes sense. So I just think it's really important for men to embrace that as opposed to romanticize the past, because trust me, like if there was an opportunity to walk in somebody else's shoes from like the 1950s, you wouldn't want to. Just because you
Fuck
have
no.
kids at home eat like making food for you to eat like for dinner, you would not want to, man. Like you have
For
no
sure.
ability to be your authentic self. Like I truly believe in our generation. It's funny that my papa from a way different generation said it, but we are our own worst enemies. And I wish there was another way I could say it. If this was like Sims 3, I would have created life differently. Like I wish there was another way that I could say it, but you got to take responsibility over your own life. That's the only way to happiness, especially right now. And you got to help others too. I think the life purpose aspect in the red pill is very much embedded in ego, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, we need to expand what life purpose really means, because I think that life purpose built out of compassion, as opposed to ego, will not benefit, but it feels better. You'd be surprised at the reward of helping others that doesn't come in a paycheck.
Yeah.
The feeling is way better.
100%, 100%. And there's a lot to touch on there. So I'll say from my own personal experience, if people have been following my channel for long enough, they might have seen this if they could read between the lines. But once I moved out and just kind of started getting enough money to really live a little more comfortably than before, I was confronted with all of my traumas. Okay, they just all started resurfacing back to back to back to back. And I noticed that it's almost like the universe or the powers that be were giving me opportunities to confront these traumas. For example, I might be walking down the street and somebody might say something to me that would really trigger me. And these things really only started to happen once I fulfilled or solidified those bottom hierarchical needs from the was it the Maslow hierarchy of needs pyramid? Yeah. So I think it's kind of interesting because it always kind of leads to that same place, which is enlightenment. And I know what my definition of enlightenment is, but I want to hear yours because I feel like everyone has their own definition, but I can tell that you're a very spiritually inclined person. So, what does enlightenment mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Wait. You answer first. I have this thing of like vocab words, and I literally wrote down the definition of enlightenment, but I gotta read it. So you go first. You go first though.
Okay, so in a nutshell, my definition of enlightenment is the awareness and the understanding that we are all connected. We're all inextricably intertwined. We are all one, and we will always be one because we will always all exist as one collective consciousness.
Exactly. Non-duality, all of that. Um,
Exactly.
okay, I don't know if I can find it this quick, but so I've been writing down the definition of words because I don't know, I mentioned this like lately in my last video because so I do have dyslexia, which is like not that it's an excuse for anything at all, but it just like the way my and I don't even know what dyslexia really means. It just is a thing that like I grew up going to special ed from like a very young age. So essentially, but I remember the definition of it. Like I think I remember the definition of enlightenment, but it's super interesting because the definition of enlightenment has to do with reaching the end of being reborn. Like the actual like Google definition of enlightenment. It's like if you achieve enlightenment, and this is the Google definition of enlightenment. I probably just look it up, but if you like achieve enlightenment in this lifetime, it's like the definition of ending the rebirth cycle, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's kind of, I feel like you really covered it with just that one word, non duality. That
mm,
kind of encapsulated the whole meaning. There's a lot, I feel like enlightenment is one of those things that there's a lot of different angles that you can approach it from, but the core truth can only be experienced. It can't
mm,
really be described, it can't be explained. And I feel like when you catch a glimpse of it, that's where, here's my personal belief. I've never actually talked about this in a video, at least not yet, but I believe that the hierarchy of needs is backwards. I think that you should start from the top and move downward. It's kind of in alignment with the chakra system, right? Like you have the crown chakra, and then you have the what's it called? Is it the sacral chakra? Is it one of the? It's like the chakra that pertains to your physical needs, and then you
mm,
have the one at the top, which is kind of the
yeah,
portal into enlightenment. And I feel like when you get that taken care of, there's a trickle down effect where everything else gets taken care of naturally. That's where, I mean, we'll talk about manifestation later, but I'm a big believer in manifestation, and I feel like the way to manifest the most efficiently is to tap into that higher power. And
mm-hmm,
once you get that, the money, all of the superficial needs will be taken care of.
right.
So that's just my personal philosophy as it pertains to enlightenment. But I know it requires a lot of faith, right? And I feel like in dating, you need to have faith. You have to have faith in something. That's something that a lot of people lack in this day and age, which is why they turn to logic, they turn to statistics, because they need proof. They need to see it before they can believe it. But the paradox of life is that if you live like that, you'll always be looking and you'll never actually find anything.
Mm,
You'll never find what you're looking for. You have to believe it and then you'll see it. Your reality will be confirmation of your beliefs as opposed to your beliefs being confirmation of your reality. So I don't know. That's just I know that's a difficult concept for a lot of men, especially to wrap their minds around, because they operate from a logical space. But something that I want to touch on really quickly, and you let me know what you think about this. I feel like logic is very, very limiting because logic is retrospective in nature, meaning that when you think logically, you're thinking about past results. You're thinking about the past, which to your point earlier about the red pill, how they romanticize the past. They look at past results and say, oh, well, the marriage rates or the divorce rates were much lower in the 1950s. But for one, it's lacking context.
yeah,
Two, we're in different times. We're in
yeah,
completely different times now. Technology as a whole, I mean, it's a very, very expansive factor in our lives. It enables us to connect with people and just do things that, like literally what we're doing right now, this wouldn't have been possible in the 1950s.
Right.
I mean, shit, in the 1950s, weren't Jim Crow laws were still like I wouldn't have been able to,
Yeah,
like the shit would not be possible.
exactly.
So I don't know. To me, that's just like people have to understand that your definition of logic or what is logical changes. It changes over time. For some people, the notion of finding love is illogical to them, which is why they struggle. Even me, I struggled with that. That's something that I myself struggled with, was like trying to figure women out. It's like you can't figure women out. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of you guys, you haven't even figured yourselves out, and you're trying to figure women out. Make that make sense. But I want to hear what's your how do you believe logic plays a role in relationships? Because I do feel like there is a certain polarity between logic and emotion that has to be balanced in a
Mhm.
relationship for it to be successful. So how do you feel like it plays into a healthy relationship dynamic?
Um, so yeah, everything that you were saying, though, about the hierarchy of needs, about reaching enlightenment as opposed to, and then like going down, I completely agree. But the issue is that a lot of people aren't able to do that, is the number one thing. Like a lot of people have to debunk um this red pill, black pill stuff in their own reality. And my whole channel is that's the forefront of my channel is the going to enlightenment first and then going down. So I appreciate you saying that. And then I'm also at sort of like a crossroads too, because um I've studied a lot of pickup, and the last video I recently put out, how to attract women, I like changed the title today because I do have to teach, because I've been studying pickup, and I'm about to like purchase the book, The Game or whatever, but I've taken a 9-hour online course and I've taken notes on it. And I've been at a crossroads because do you know who Todd B Dating is? I think is his name.
No.
He's a YouTuber. I think something similar is like that of his name, but he's basically a pickup artist. And the thing is that he's extremely I think his content provides a lot of truth, but the issue with pickup is that there is like a form of nihilism that comes out of it when you're just picking up women again and again, if that makes sense. There's
Yeah.
balance. Like life is all about balance. So definitely I want to try to provide a holistic perspective on everything, but I think men coming at dating from a logical perspective is just a disservice to themselves. You can't psychoanalyze women logically. The best form of psychoanalyzing women logically is pickup, like literally. That's it. Otherwise, like red pill, no. Black pill, no. And even if red pill works, you're not even going to be with the right kind of woman. Like it takes a very specific kind of woman that aren't the majority, but rather the minority of women where red pill really works on. Because even if you're a woman and you're like super logical, because that implies women are logical. If you're super logical and you're like, I need money, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
go and date a guy for money in this. I'm gonna use my looks for that. If you come up to that same woman and you get her to fall in love, I mean, again, I don't know if it's gonna go out the window, but it's gonna be pretty close. Like it's just um the logical perspective is sort of putting reality into systems thinking that doesn't exist. But in the same breath, like some guys, I'm gonna have to teach pickup on my channel because some guys really need to debunk red pill and black pill in their own in-person experience. And the
Yeah.
best way to do that is by going out and picking up women in public and casually like sleeping with them. And this is an art. It's like, this happens, and you can be any height, you can look any kind of way, but if you master charisma at pickup, you will bring home a woman. And certain guys like my whole problem with the red pill is like certain guys feel like as though they need to go on the hero's journey to get women, but then they don't leave their house like for like a year on end. They don't have social circles. they don't have they're not on dating apps, and then maybe they're too unattractive for dating apps because again, the example I was bringing up earlier, women are in their logical mindset on dating apps. That's why it doesn't work for everybody. But so those guys need to go out to clubs. They need to find a location near them where it's populated with women, and they need to go up to women and talk to them and build social rapport with them. If they want to get laid, like there is a way to get laid right away as a man, no matter what you look like, essentially. I mean, unless you're, like something like your health is affected by the way that, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that, obviously, it's like if you can't walk or something like that, then you got a whole different set of issues. But if you're just short or if you're not in shape, you can still easily get a woman if you build the right charisma and are able to achieve proper rapport with a woman. Sorry.
There you go.
But yeah, so essentially don't look at women from a logical perspective, but I will be teaching pickup on my channel because certain men need to debunk red pill and black pill in their own reality to overcome it. If that makes sense.
I get that 100%. And I feel like a big part of the reason why red pill and black pill are what they are. First of all, I feel like the silent majority, they don't really believe in that stuff. Like your average guy on the street isn't red pilled or black pilled, but those communities are so strong that they punch well above their weight in a sense. I feel like a big part of the reason why those communities work the way that they do is ironically because they invoke emotion, which always fucks me up because for as much as men talk about not being emotional, emotion is what draws them to these communities. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood and appreciated for who they are. And I feel like for men, in a sense, these communities can be a stepping stone into something greater. I will admit that I was heavily red pilled at one point, very heavily red pilled. It lasted all of maybe 2 weeks, but those 2 weeks I was full on, and it served as a stepping stone for me to give myself that appreciation, to give myself that validation, and to say, wait a minute, hold on, maybe I should stop taking rejection so personally, because maybe it had nothing to do with me. And I feel like that's something that men need to understand, and women as well. I've noticed, man, women tend to be really bad at taking rejection. That's a whole different discussion. But I feel like when it comes to getting rejected, more often than not, it's not personal. How can it be personal if they don't even know who you are?
Exactly.
They just like they're just working off of the first minute or two of knowing you. They just rejected the free trial. You know, they don't actually know the whole program. So I feel like, first of all, also another thing, men need to understand that no dating coach, no dating advice will make you attractive to all women. There is nothing that you can do to be attractive to all women. And that is one thing that I feel the red pill community in particular, I'm calling them out, really, really propagate is if you do this, women as a whole will respond in this way, which is not true. Is not necessarily true. There are seeds of truth within the black pill community, within the red pill community, within the pickup community, within every community. Which is why I always say, if you become your best version, just be yourself and love yourself, you're not going to attract every woman, but you're going to attract the women who you want in your life. Because you got to think about it. If you have to change the essence of who you are to get with somebody, why would you want to be with them?
Right.
Why would you want to be with them? They're not giving you the validation that you're seeking. How can they? You're not giving yourself the validation that you're seeking because you're not being yourself. So I feel like, I guess impatience is probably the biggest problem there. It's the underlying issue is people feel impatient. They want that companionship, and I understand it. I live on my own. I get lonely sometimes too. But it's like you got to learn how to enjoy your own company. Learn how to enjoy your own company, because if you don't enjoy your own company, why would anybody else enjoy your company?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. But that's my little rant on that.
Yeah.
I'll get some water real quick.
Me too.
So I wanna know. This is a very broad question, but this question could go a lot of different ways. What's your let me rephrase that. What does true love mean to you?
I mean, to me personally,
Yeah. What does true love mean to you?
it's just a feeling, you know. It's just like I definitely am not somebody that wants to marry somebody for their money or anything like that. So to me, true love is just two souls meeting each other, that kind of thing. And then you just feel it. Um, and I want to like travel the world someday. So I want to be able, like, in theory, like, this is just a fantasy that I have, but in theory, I would like to travel. Like, my whole thing is that I'm not necessarily, the path that I'm on is that if I were to find true love, I just want to travel the world with them and experience different cultures with them and do sort of that kind of thing. So I I don't come at it from a perspective of just survival needs or anything like that, if that makes sense. Um, I come at it from I'm not just trying to find somebody to just, get married right away and then have kids and then build like, sort of, I want to really travel the world like super, super. I know that sounds stupid, but
No,
that's
that's,
like what it means
I
to
feel
me.
like that's the dream.
That would be amazing. Like, and to learn about all these different cultures, because I know me personally, like I don't know crap about and like anything. And I would just love to meet somebody who's just down for the exploring what reality and life is together at the same time and traveling everywhere that we could go. So like and true love to me, like I'm still young, so like I know my opinion's gonna grow, evolve, and change.
Wait, how
Um,
old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay. Yeah. So it what it means to me is to basically just travel and I feel like I don't know. That's just what it means to me. It's not just to get married and have kids, personally. I think it's like choosing. My thing about marriage, and I don't know if I want to get too much into it because I'm really trying to help men. I'm not trying to like sound crazy or anything like that. But I think like two people should be choosing each other every day and not feel trapped in like that sort of thing. Not that I don't believe in weddings or anything like that. I just if I were to find love or something, I want it to be something, I don't know. Like it's just two souls connecting and choosing that connection every day as opposed to like a government paper. But in the same breath,
I feel
if
that.
if nobody thinks like that, like I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? Like my channel is to help men just find whatever they're looking for, whether that be the marriage or whatever. So even though I say that for me personally, I'm not trying to say most women think like this at all. Like actually most women don't. But or am I trying to say that you have to think like this? This is very, very like personal, I guess. But yeah, so that's what that means to me. It's just two people choosing to engage in the consciousness of reality together, not to sound too.
Damn. I like that. So I saw this thing on Reddit, and this kind of fucked me up when I saw it. This was maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
The person said, "True love is not when two people are looking at each other, but when two people are looking in the same direction and walking side by side." And as you went through your whole definition, that one kind of it just brought back that definition to me because I feel like intuitively we all kind of have that same definition deep down. And something that I want to touch on really quickly is you said a spiritual connection. So, do you believe in soulmates? Do you believe in twin flames? What's your perspective on that? And also, how important is that spiritual bond in the context of love, in your opinion?
So I definitely believe in energy and things like that. However, I do even though I love uh tarot and I love zodiac and stuff like that, I know for a fact it's a limiting belief.
Yeah,
Because just like how I'm preaching on my channel about red and black pill, that also in its own sense can be a limiting belief. So I really
for
just
sure.
believe in non-duality above all else. So that's my whole thing about astrology, twin flames. I don't know about any of that. I don't even know about past lives, to be honest. I don't know. I look at most things like a limiting belief in a weird way. But so what was the second part? The spirituality or something?
Just like how much of a role does spirituality play in love, in romance, in your opinion?
Um, so yeah, I think it spirituality, I feel like also on my channel, something that I wanted not to just be talking about my channel, but like something that I want to do is I want to provide guys that want to have casual, sex. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's why I'm trying to teach guys, and I haven't even started this series on my channel yet. But I will be teaching guys, like I mentioned earlier, I will be teaching guys pickup because guys need to know that they don't need to go through the hero's journey in order to get laid.
Yeah.
Like I've done extreme courses and pick up things like that. So I will be teaching guys that want to engage in casual at like sex or whatever, pickup and things like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But in terms of like religious guys, I also want to start because I know some of my followers are religious. So I also want to start a series about how as a religious guy you can meet women through church groups, things like that, etc. But yeah, I think but overall, in terms of spirituality, I think there has to be an overarching, value system that does correlate. That's, more logical, but I do believe that, if that makes sense. I think
I feel
two
that.
people have to have the same values and principles, whether it's rooted in, Christianity, Judaism, or, something like that, any like religion, or if it's rooted in not any religion. I think that there is some similarity that can play into effect. Not to say that it's always that one way, but I think uh, having the same values is important.
100%. I agree 100% with that. I do feel like, I mean, religion, spirituality, amongst other things, that is typically the foundation of somebody's life. That's the foundation of their moral beliefs. That's the foundation of their values, their ethics. That's the foundation of their self-perception. They see themselves through the lens of their beliefs. So I feel like that is, at least in my opinion, it should be a non-negotiable. Now, obviously, when it comes to hookups and all of that, then yeah, like I mean, you fuck whoever you want. But when you talk about building a life with somebody, just a little game for you guys. Instead of thinking about your first initial impression of somebody, think about your day-to-day life with somebody. Ask yourself, how would my life look? And I'm talking about for long-term relationships here. How would my life look if this was my person, if we were together? And I think that that's something that a lot of people fail to ask themselves, hence the high divorce rates. People just rush into things before they're ready. And also, okay, let me ask you this real quick. So, with the divorce rates, right? What are your thoughts on commitment? Because on one hand, I mean, we're both spiritual people. So I feel like with spirituality comes that sense of presence, right? That sense of do what feels the best in the moment. But I feel like commitment in and of itself is kind of a third dimensional principle. It's more of a logical principle. It doesn't really, it makes sense for marriages for logistic reasons because nobody wants to just uproot their life when they're 45 years old. But in terms of fulfillment, do you feel that the two are mutually exclusive or do you feel like they can coincide?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, my whole perspective on love is like barely anything I'm even trying to teach on my channel because I truly believe everything works different for everybody. Not saying that I don't believe in, you know, talking about what I believe in on my channel. I do, but at the end of the day, in terms of bad dating content, I just want to help guys achieve whatever they're looking for, whether
Yeah.
it's through religion or whether it's through getting laid or whether it's through I don't care personally. So I'm just trying to help guys achieve the holistic perspective, and then even in terms of getting a girlfriend, achieving the whatever. But achieving getting a girlfriend. Like, I'm here to provide a service, and my whole thing is like, you on my channel, you get to be the creator of your reality. So you get to choose. I'm not here to, I'm trying to provide everything that I can. I'm trying to provide healing. I'm trying to provide this. And in my opinion, I think that you should personally look at all of that from a holistic perspective. However, if you're only trying to get laid, or if you're only trying to do this and that, then, or only trying to create a family, like, I'm not gonna, I don't judge that. I don't, like, I just think men deserve to be happy, and I just think the majority of dating content is horrible. So that's it. Like, whatever you decide is like perfect for you. But so yeah, logistics can play a factor, but it depends on each person. But of course, there is logistics involved in love. I'm not just trying to sound like a zodiac. Oh my gosh, let me, light my candles. Like, yes, of course, logistics play a factor, especially if you're trying to get married and have kids. That's like a very important thing. You can't be long distance and then get married and have kids. Logistics do play a factor, but again, everything as to what you were saying as well, we just have to remember how reality and life works, in the sense that it's new. This is the thing about the internet and all of that, and the divorce statistics too. The divorce statistics have nothing to do with you unless you want it to. You, I'm not trying to. So I'm trying to help individual men. I'm not trying to save an entire statistic. I don't know even what that means. You are you, and you're the creator of your reality. If you want to embark on the journey of saving this percentage of guys, then go ahead and try to do that. Like, that's fine. I'm here for the individual. And the one thing that red pill and black pill forgets to define or say is that the individual has their own ability to make decisions in their life, and I feel like they really blend men into the statistic, which is really a mindset. Like, unless you want to embark on this journey, which could be, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what good can come out of that if you're just trying to. Same with like the feminism movement. It's all these people, everybody, men, women, everybody's in some sort of like group think in different groups. And it's like, social media is like high school times 20,000. Like, everybody's sitting at
Yes.
their high school table and they're thinking it's truth. And it's like, you got to, you're you. You're not them. You're not your friends. You're not, and women do this too. I'm not saying that women don't. Many people have these online communities that they're following, like miniature, I just say it, but like cults. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're like this ideology. But listen, man, like, you're the creator of your own reality. If you don't want to get into a divorce, and if you don't want to be a statistic, then don't be one. If you want to get the dream girlfriend, then get one. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to save this all men. That makes life so much harder when you're looking at it from that. And even if you want to save and help people, it's really a great idea to save yourself first.
Yeah.
Like, statistics really don't matter when you're the creator of your own life, because I truly feel like your decision making is just what makes your reality. These miniature decisions that we make for ourselves is what creates our outcome. And if we fall vulnerable to a statistic that we see on the internet, we're screwing our own selves over. You know, don't, like, I know it's hard, but don't take in what other people. You are you. This is about you. This is about your inner child. This is about your life experience on earth. So I feel like it's like, don't forget that this isn't about everybody else. This is about you. What do you want to do with your life? Decide that for you. Don't be joining a team. Don't be joining like this army kind of thing. Like, there's no need for that. I just want to help the individual man. And then if it's achieve casual sex, I will be teaching pickup. If you're religious and you don't want to do that, I will be teaching you how to get girls that are also religious. I will do whatever it is that is meant for you. And I feel like that's the most important thing. You got to take care of yourself first before you help others. And live in your authentic truth because we have the ability to, which so many of our ancestors before us didn't have. So, don't, and I've been in the victim mindset. I have. And you just want to break out of that on it doesn't matter if you're in that. It doesn't matter if you continue to be in that. You just want to break out at some point, because it will get to the point where you're like 45 years old and you're like sitting in an airport and you see a man and a woman in love, and the girl's like shorter than the guy, or the guy shorter than the girl, or something like that, and it just like debunks your perception of reality immediately. You just see something that's like, wow, like those two people are in love, like why couldn't I get that? And it's like, because your mental was blocked by statistics and ideologies, if that makes sense.
Damn, I really, really like that. I'm gonna share a quick, very, very brief story. So when I was in LA back in 2018, first time I ever went, me and my friend, we were walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and on the other side of the street, I spotted a couple. The dude was at most, on a good day with Tim's on, maybe 5'4", at most. The woman, okay, I shit you not, was minimum 6'6", minimum. WNBA #1 prospect, averaging a triple double. Okay, she was tall as hell. I've never seen a gap like that. And in that moment that I saw that, I just remember thinking to myself, anything is possible. Fuck statistics, anything is possible. If that guy could get with that girl, anything is possible in this life.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's an extreme example, a true story, but that's an extreme example. But I do feel like our lives are a series of decisions that we make, like those miniature decisions. But to an even greater extent, it's that big decision that you make. It's that paradigm shifting decision where you decide that you do create your own reality. And I think that's the biggest shift. That's the biggest epiphany for the vast majority of people, whether it be for dating, for success, or anything else in between, is I create my own reality. Whether you see it in a spiritual sense or if you see it in a psychology sense of I'm rewiring my subconscious mind. And what you have to understand, to everyone watching this, is that when you make that paradigm shifting decision, when you have that epiphany, all of the other decisions, they reflect that. So the small decisions are always the trickle down effect of the big decision that you make. And that's why it's very important to confront your limiting beliefs, to confront your inner child trauma. A lot of times, man, you guys have these perceptions about love because you grew up in broken households. You grew up watching your parents cheat on each other. You grew up watching your parents argue and even, project that onto you. And because they grew up in those same types of households, and it creates this generational trauma that, you didn't ask for it. It's not your fault. But it's your responsibility to overcome it. It's your responsibility to circumvent it, to transcend it through awareness, through first awareness and then acceptance. Accepting the fact that you are broken right now. The acceptance of the fact that you're broken is what fixes you. A lot of people don't understand that. But that's why I started off the stream with your banner, just talking about limiting beliefs and healing from that trauma. People don't understand that if you don't want to be that guy in the airport who's looking at that couple and thinking like, damn, where did I go wrong? You have to take action now. You have to take action in the here and now. You can't wait. You have to get out of this group think. You see, here's the thing about group think. So you're from, I'm not going to say where you're from, but you're from an area where, not the specific area, but you're from an area where there is gang presence, right? A lot of people don't understand why these kids join gangs. Because from the outside looking in, it seems illogical. Why the fuck would I join a group of people who have dedicated their lives to committing random acts of violence, to doing random crimes? It doesn't make sense. But you have to understand that from their frame of reference, that's oftentimes all they know. And so when they have that broken household, to my point earlier, that's where they find their sense of community. And in the same way, when people are broken, when they have that broken sense of self, they find their community they confide in these red pill communities, the black pill community, feminism, things like that. Exactly. These are simply facades to what's the word, to masquerade their victim complex. There's always, the victim complex is always at the root. And to my point earlier, to both of our points earlier, it's always rooted in the concept of duality, which is why that's why, I mean, we both agree that if you focus on enlightenment, everything else takes care of itself. But I want to know, how do you feel like people can overcome groupthink? How can they overcome the temptation of groupthink when they're coming from a place of only knowing that and nothing else, only knowing that community, seeing that community as their only ticket out of the misery that they've come to know as their day-to-day lives?
Oh my gosh, you ask such great questions, and I have a question for you a little bit after I answer your question too. But so so like the way people fall into groupthink in the first place is because they lack a third party person. Like it comes into lacking some sort of, to me, the way I think an individual overcomes groupthink is through education. You have to educate your mind to overcome that. So if, like, in my last video I linked like some classical literature novels, and just some out of, like, just a few out of the many I've read, because I feel as though if you are in groupthink, you lack a your perspective is very tunnel vision. And in order, like, if you research cult psychology or any of that, like, in order to break out of, and not that groupthink's the same, and not, it's completely different, but nonetheless, in order to break out of some sort of dogmatic kind of thinking, is you have to educate yourself. And that's done best when you're reading. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the internet may seem like it's, and this is a trap that I fell into too. The internet may feel like it's giving your mind a lot of worldviews. However, it's not. The best worldviews is to, like, study history and to read books, and read books by the greats. Like, no hate to Andrew Tate or anything like that, but don't just listen to this guy. Read, and when I say the greats, I mean like the greats. I'm, like, not talking about Andrew Tate. I'm sorry. Like, I'm talking about, like, people from history. You have to read from their perspective from all over the world, and also just look at a map of the entire world too. That like is something that helped me. I don't know, like, just kind of zooming out of your own perspective. Like, there's so many countries that you don't know anything about. If you're being honest, if I'm being honest, I don't know anything about at all. And
Yeah.
lately I've been trying to start studying other places outside of America, um, because I realized I don't know anything about these places. Like, my sister, she's a world traveler, but I'm not. I'm a homebody. I was never like that. But as I'm getting older, I'm like, this is something I want to learn about reality in life. And people that seek truth are, like, this is the thing. I feel like people that fall into red pill and black pill are truly truth seekers,
Yeah.
as ironic and counterintuitive as it is, like, truly, truly. But the issue is that they still lack a perspective that provides the bigger picture, and they're sort of thinking this tunnel vision. So education, you're susceptible to falling into groupthink if you don't educate yourself about the worldwide views of life. And if you have a YouTube channel, like, if you're on YouTube, you have access to these resources. You just got to be looking in the right places. Again, like, knowledge is everything. Knowledge is power, in my opinion, not money. Um, you want to be knowledgeable, and the more knowledgeable you become about life, the happier you are. I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, the less happy I was, the less knowledge I had. Um, so you become susceptible into groupthink if you're not educated. And there was a girl in my class who, like, was really from, like, a lot of, like, I'm from a better area than, like, the areas where there's gangs at, but there was a girl from my class, and she was from, like, those areas exactly. And her whole mantra, like, her whole thing was to heal trauma. And I was so inspired. You know, she was 30 years old. She looked like she was my age. You know, I'll never forget her. And she just spoke about life straight up. Like she's from an area where there's gangs and violence and things like that. And she's like, I need to heal this trauma, blah, 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 blah. Like, and in a lot of ways, she would even like challenge my professors, which is exactly what I loved about her. Like she was just real. And I don't know, she's just amazing. But and I don't even know her that well, but she's just truly amazing. And it's amazing where people come from. The thing is that in life you only have your perspective, but if you want to seek truth, you have to view things from everybody's perspective in the
Yeah.
best way that you can. Like it's not possible to achieve, but it's great to try. If you truly want to seek truth, you have to look at things through 360 of an angle.
I feel that 100%. That's kind of interesting that you said that because something that I've been saying since high school, and at the time I didn't even know why I was saying this, but throughout the years I've kind of learned through experience that the best way to broaden your horizons is for one to travel and two to read books.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because the insight that I've gained is obviously from traveling, you gain that worldly perspective. You see things that you would have never otherwise seen living where you live. I mean, I'm from Louisville, Texas. I never really left the city on my own until I was like 18. You know, like even when I got my driver's license, I still just stayed around that area. And when I was 18, I went to New York for the first time. And it blew my mind. It fucking blew my mind to see like all of these different pockets of culture. I remember I got off at the wrong stop. I ended up in this like Jewish neighborhood. I'd never seen anything. We don't have that in Louisville. I was like, people were walking around with the little hats and like the beards and stuff. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, yo, where am I? And then that next day I went to Chinatown, and I'm just walking through there, and it just blew my mind to see that. And mind you, I mean, my mom is from another country. Half of my family is from another country, so I already had somewhat of that perspective, but just to see it in real time blew my mind. And then as far as reading goes, I feel like a big part of the reason why reading is so effective, and this is just me coming from that spiritual perspective again. I feel like when you know enlightenment, like when you've experienced it, when it's touched you, you see it everywhere, but especially in literature. I feel like, or like literature, art, things like that. That's why people have these sudden, profound inclinations toward these different mediums of expression, because it's like when you can read between the lines and see that same lesson behind every single moral and every single story, it kind of brings you back to that ever expansive perspective, which is really the only way that you can broaden your horizons beyond the boundaries and experience life from all perspective at once,
Yeah.
from all perspectives at once. And I don't know, I just kind of went on a tangent there, but that's something that I feel like people need to understand is that when you expose yourself to different things and you finally have that aha moment, it stays with you. It leaves a residual effect. It echoes. It leaves an imprint in your subconscious mind, and thus the way that you perceive reality and yourself and the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly. No, yeah, I completely agree. Education is the way out of everything, I'm telling you. And like when I speak about this stuff, I've like been in these traps of the mind, like myself. Like takes one to know one, you know. It's so funny how red pill, black pill works because I was like on the other side of things when I was in high school. I like listened to like, you know, like the like I guess like pink pill as one would call it, I guess, kinds of things. And then all it would preach is like men, if you achieve things in your life, men won't love you. You have to like play dumb or something. Otherwise, men, and it made me like nihilistic or whatever for like a little bit. And so I didn't date for a long time. Like the thing is that the reason I got into this stuff is because of how much I relate to it. And the bigger picture is that I don't hate men at all, at all. And all my friends, all my female friends don't hate men at all, at all. All my female friends quite literally have recently just graduated or whatever, and they found jobs that are like higher earning than the guy that they're with. And I love the guys that they're with, and they love the guys that they're with. You know what I mean? Like, it's just insane how much direct experience is truth as opposed to social media.
Yeah.
So I agree with like everything that you just said, but so I do have to ask you a question. How did you get to thinking this way?
Think in what way?
I don't know, everything that you're saying, like what was your path to, you
Like
know,
in terms of my views on love or my views on life or what? Just like
like
all of it?
all of it?
So I was raised spiritual. Um, my dad put me on to certain concepts like channeling, for example. Like I was hip to that when I was like in elementary school. Meditation, just things like I've been doing that stuff for more than half my life at this point,
Wow.
consistently. And so I feel like over time, it's like even when you go through those periods of not being fully invested in it or questioning it, like the residual effects kind of carry over into those seasons of your life and they pull you into that next season of faith, if you will. So I think everything kind of the biggest impetus was, I would say it was, have you first of all, do you know about my book at all?
Soul Shock, yes, I do.
Okay. If you okay,
I haven't
so
read it yet, but I know I need to.
I'm gonna send you a PDF copy so you can read it. But so basically, the events of that story, and it was pretty much a love story, but it's very spiritually rooted. It was a very spiritual experience for me, and just the timing of it, it all happened right around the time that I was learning about manifestation and really going deep into that, and that kind of forced me. I feel like when you go through enough trauma, if you ever notice, the wisest people have been through the most shit more often than not. Just
Um,
emotionally, spiritually, they've always been through the most shit. And so I feel like at a certain point, when you've been through so much
yeah.
emotional distress, you have no choice but to surrender and look within and just be present. You literally have no other choice because you can only take so much suffering at a certain point. And I think the biggest epiphany that I had was, to our points earlier, when I realized that all of my suffering was self-inflicted. When I realized that, no, this girl never did me dirty. I did myself dirty. I'm the
Yeah.
one who decided to, hold on to my traumas and not take the time to heal. And all she did was reflect that back to me. And I couldn't take my own reflection. And that's kind of where things just started to happen exponentially, where I feel like when you get into that space, the information starts to find you. And it does it in the least predictable ways possible. Like a lot of my friends, they were not spiritual like that. At least not to my knowledge. They were religious or they were maybe agnostic, so on and so forth. But once I really tapped into that spiritual journey, I noticed that a lot of my friends started to become spiritual. And it would fuck me up because now one of my great friends, Levi Rose, shout out to him, he's another content creator, we'll have like 3-hour conversations about spirituality, about manifestation, about the nature of life. And if I'm being honest, you guys haven't really seen the depth of my thought process on YouTube yet. I don't think you guys have really seen it because, like I was saying earlier, when you've experienced enlightenment, when you've experienced ego death, you can't really describe it. All you can do is kind of, you can describe it from like a third person perspective, but not a first person perspective. It's something that you can only experience. And it's just over time, I just ended up where I am. But I don't know. I feel like life is very cyclical in a sense. I believe that everything is energy, and it's all, life is just frequency based. It's just all about what frequency you're vibrating at as an energetic being. And I feel like, let's say, for example, if I have two lights, right? I have two lamps next to each other, and I alternate between them. I oscillate one on, one off, one on, one off, and I just keep doing that. If I do it fast enough, it'll appear as if they're both on at the same time, right? And I feel like, in a sense, when your frequency becomes high enough, you reach the frequency of stillness, which is the frequency of presence, the frequency of infinite. I could go on and on about this. It's that's basically that's the short of it. I'll just say that. What about you though? Because I didn't know you were like spiritual and stuff just from watching your streams with Pierre. Then you just came out and dropped like a tarot card reading the other day. I was like, what the fuck? Like, where'd that come from? Like, have you always been like that, or is that something that you developed over time, or what?
Well, that's a great question. And like also, you know what's so weird too? When I was taking like my courses in pickup, um they even if you're the most scientifically minded rational guy, you don't have to jump into these spiritual, sort of mindsets if you can't, because a lot of something what's so interesting when I was learning pickup is that the guy I was like, and he slept with thousands of women. Not that it matters, but like the point is that he was giving great advice, and his whole thing was like, um, if you're at a club, and this is also what my uncle Dan said too. If you're at a club, you want to be enjoying yourself, like for yourself. And so even if you're rationally minded, like there is, like that's fine, but there is a lot of like relation and truths to manifestation in that, because even if you don't believe in that, that's completely fine and great, you can still get women, but you have to literally be enjoying yourself in order to get women. And then if you have like, because women are energy feelers, if you have shame around your sexuality, and or if you have resentment towards women, they're not going to want to sleep with you. Like
Exactly.
honestly, this is another major thing that I learned in pickup. And the way it was taught to me was through like a rational mind, not through like a spiritual mind. Like there's just ways to get women, and a lot of it is your energy. And that's why this black pill, red pill is such a, as I said before, limiting belief. And it just does a disservice to men, of all people. Like it just sucks. It just sucks. And if I was a man born in this generation, I'd obviously be like red pill, black pill. I'm introvert as a woman, so
Yeah.
that's why I can relate to it. And not only that, I so yeah, I'm trying to trickle in some spirituality, but I'm also trying to provide the logical results, because I know everybody's mind works differently. And if you're religious, like there's ways to meet, but like talking to women, even if they're religious of a woman, or if they're like an atheist woman, or if they're, a spiritual woman, there's something that goes on between all three of these like prototypes of women that you can, you know what I mean? That's common to achieve attraction with them. But and as you were saying earlier, women aren't all attracted to the same things. That's why you got to provide your authenticity to it. But in terms of like me and how I got into spirituality, um, I I don't know. I guess so I during quarantine I was home. For the reason why I do this channel is because I know I'm a woman and this and that, but I can relate a lot to men in the sense that I've always been introverted. I had an existential crisis in school, which like kept me socially isolated. And when I say men, I'm specifically speaking to, maybe not, I don't know. I don't know why. I guess I'm speaking to a lot of men though, because in my lifetime I've like spoken to men and they've related whatsoever. And I've also gotten rejected a lot, but so after quarantine happened, I was home for the entire time, and then at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, so in January, I had sprained my ankle or something. And I didn't listen to my body. I didn't rest it. I didn't heal it. I kept going because I just, the way I was raised in a very, I love my parents so much, but the household I was raised in was kind of like, especially after the fire, my parents were very distracted. So it was sort of like, here's this insurance money, here's this freedom. We're like, we're doing our own thing right now. So I was raised in a household that lacked a lot of discipline, like a lot.
Yeah.
And I was sort of given everything that I wanted from a young age. Um, and so that's why I had an amazing childhood, and my parents are still married to this day. But we're uh, crap hit the fan was when I became like a teenager, and then my house burnt down, and I was just like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, but so yeah, so I was raised in a household where it was just like, I don't want to say it was a free for all, because my parents weren't like, you know, immature or bad at parenting. They just gave me and my younger brother a lot of freedom, I'd say.
Yeah.
A lot of freedom because of everything that was going on with our house, and because of even our childhood. Like, we were just spoiled with a lot of freedom. And so being raised that way, I kind of felt like I had to find something, because my parents they're from, my dad, he's a baby boomer. So my parents, and I love my parents. Like, don't get me wrong. I love my parents. I think they're amazing. But, um, the way I was raised was, for my generation, being exposed to the internet and having no discipline from your parents equals, it can equal chaos. But my
Yeah.
parents, they're not from my generation, so they don't think of it like that. They don't know the existential realities that I'm exposed to just via my phone or whatever. So yeah, it definitely led me into a lot of existential crises that in one way or another led me into spirituality, whatever that means. But I also try to look at life from not even spirituality. I'm not just like zodiac or this or that. I think everything in life, to an extent, is a limiting belief. I just try to be in the moment, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. Like, now, I had a lot of addiction issues. I used to vape for 5 years. Every single day, I would go through like a pod a day. I had the Jewel, and I quit March 3rd of 2021. And that's just one of my addictions of many. I struggled with a lot of addiction issues, because I think I was lost and I was looking for something to fulfill myself. But I'm really proud of how, irregardless of if I make it on YouTube or not, I'm genuinely really proud of how far I came. And relationships for me and that sort of thing was never one of my addictions. Like, I never let it be one of my addictions because I couldn't I can't control another person. And I'm very, like, when I was like an addict in a lot of ways, I needed to control my fulfillment right then and there. So I looked at relationships and I was like, this isn't something that I need. Like, this isn't not something that I don't need, but this isn't an addiction of mine. It just didn't resonate with me. But I think the problem is a lot of guys, you know, look at girls that, maybe are, hooking up casually, and then they kind of project all these narratives. But it's like, most things, especially in our generation, we're just dealing with a lot of self-sabotage and a lot of addictions. Mine manifested in a way that had nothing to do with relationships. So I was just alone trying to do something to, I guess in a way, like, get high, whether it be through like drugs, or it be through the vape, or it be through like something. And then I would drive on the highway at like 100 miles per hour when I was like a junior in high school, like blasting emo music, and like in the middle of the night. And I was just in like, so everybody's addictions manifest in different ways. Mine didn't manifest in the form of codependency or casual hooking up, but mine manifested in different ways. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that is something that we have to take into account. A lot of people are just trying to escape their reality. And I'm very thankful that I don't have these problems anymore. Like, so thankful. I overcame them all. But a big thing that's helping me right now is my YouTube channel, especially because the injury that I had in January, like, I tore my right ligament because I, didn't stay still. And to this day, I'm still dealing with the repercussions of that, because my left ankle, I just was able to walk recently for essentially 3 weeks out of this whole year. And by walk, I mean like go outside, do anything outside of like my apartment or my house.
Are you like
Like,
on crutches or something?
yeah, I had a boot. I wasn't on crutches yet. It didn't get that bad. However, I was on a boot for a long time for my right ligament, and then my left started acting up, and then they stopped, and now my left is acting up again. So like in total this year, I haven't been able to walk normally, except for like a month out of this year. So it's like quarantine all over again. And that's like what reminds me, like, social isolation is what's hurting men the most, if that makes sense. Sorry for going on the long rant, but
You're good. I feel that. Something I want to touch on. I'm gonna ask you this, and then I'm gonna go use the bathroom, but I can still hear you. I have my AirPod in. But with fighting addiction, right? I make a lot of videos about NoFap in particular, but I do feel like my advice can be applied almost universally, because there's the physical aspect of addiction, but then there's also kind of the emotional and intellectual aspect of addiction. So I want to know, how did you find it within yourself to forgive yourself for being addicted to the things that you were addicted to? I'll be right back. I can still hear you though.
um so to forgive myself, I had to take responsibility for my actions first and foremost. That's what's so weird about addiction, is like the lack of responsibility that you take when you have like an addiction. So I had to take responsibility. And that was tough because when you're in the mode of taking responsibility, you're not in the mode of forgiving yourself. You're taking responsibility. You're like, no freaking way I did all of this misery and social isolation to myself. Like, no way. No way I'm responsible for most of this. Like, no way. No way. And so yeah, like I had to take responsibility, and that was tough. Again, it felt like I was literally dying, like emotionally. Taking responsibility for yourself is kind of the equivalent to feeling like you're dying. Not to sound dramatic, but genuinely. Um, so yeah, I had to work on taking responsibility for myself first. And it's like, how do you come out of that self-hatred after you've taken responsibility for your own misery? That's a very scary feeling. But I did, and I came to the realization, like, you know what? If I This is how I forgave myself. It was like, honestly, it had a lot to do with this YouTube channel, a lot of senses. I was like, you know what? I did this, and that to myself. However, I can relate to people that are also struggling now. And if I can turn that into something positive, then I can forgive myself. So that's kind of what I did. I took responsibility, but then I realized, like, you know what? What have I got to lose? Like that
Yeah.
paradox. If you only have one life, what do you got to lose? So I was like, no, I'm miserable. And honestly, I had to turn to the mirror and come to the realization a lot of this is my fault. But then when I did that, I was like, you know what? I know I'm not the only one whose worst enemy is themselves. I know a lot of people out there also struggle with them fighting the battle between them and themselves. So as soon as I like looked in the mirror and like took responsibility for that, I was like, I'm gonna turn this into something positive. I know this is like a bunch of like crap or whatever that I went through, that I mostly inflicted upon myself, because even though my parents, you know, they like lacked in certain areas, we had the means to like get me help, and I never asked. So I went on this, you know, venture of like helping my own self. So I was like, as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, if I can forgive, like if I can help myself, I can help others. So it really gave me a purpose. And then I was able to forgive myself for my own unhappiness in that way. Because I know I'm not the only one out there that's struggling with this. Even though like I'm a, you know, female or whatever. Like I just like I know for a fact. Like and then I was like, if I can turn this, you know, self-inflicted trauma, honestly, that I did on myself into something positive, then it would have been worth it. So like
Yeah.
it's that journey that made me forgive myself and is making me forgive myself to this day. Like I'm the most addiction free and happiest I've ever been. And it's honestly a lot to do with my own YouTube channel, as like, you know, whatever as it sounds, like it really gives me a reason to wake up in the morning, because I know what it's like to be your own worst enemy. I know it, like I know the back of my hand, and or the front or whatever. Like I know it really well. And if I can forgive myself, or then I can help others forgive themselves and get the most out of life. And then, I think helping others is one of the best things. And if I didn't go through my own self-inflicted struggle, I wouldn't be here today. So in a sense, creating a life purpose, I guess, is what made me free myself. But yeah.
And that goes right back to what we were saying earlier about the people who the wisest people have usually been through the most shit. And they reached a point where they had nowhere else to turn but within. And that's where all of the answers are. They're all within. And something that I realized, I want to kind of touch on this real quick. You said that when you went through that process of taking accountability, you felt like you were dying. And I do feel like that's a very, very real feeling. And a big part of the reason why is because we base our self-perceptions on our traumas. Like we're basically detaching from an aspect of ourselves by first accepting an aspect of ourselves that we've resisted for so long. And it's kind of paradoxical because when you resist that aspect of yourself, for example, emotions, for all of you men out there, when you resist your emotions, they seep out into your actions. That resistance only makes them stronger. Just like when you go to the gym, you subject yourself to resistance, it makes you stronger. If you resist your emotions, it makes them stronger. And that's why you have people who go and shoot up schools or just do various treacherous things that to them at the time seemed logical, which is to our points earlier, logic is not really the best or most effective guiding principle in one's life, in my opinion. But to me, I mean, that was a very, very well thought out response because I think a lot of people, they struggle with that, but helping other people who struggle with what you struggle with is a very fulfilling path. It's very, very fulfilling. I mean, with YouTube, I've had accolades. I got the plaque, the silver plaque. I got I made enough money to move out and things like that. That stuff, it brings temporary joy. It's like, oh man, this is great. A month later, you're what's it called? The hedonic treadmill. It always rebalances. But when you talk about fulfillment, helping other people who have been or who are going through what you've already been through or what you're currently going through as well, to me, that's a feeling that you can't quantify. You can't quantify that with numbers. You can't quantify that with money. You can't quantify that with anything. It's just an experience that you have to have. And I feel like that experience is actually kind of the physical manifestation, the physical representation of enlightenment, of the very top of that pyramid. So it always comes full circle. It always goes back to enlightenment and just understanding that connection and love really is our purpose.
Yeah.
And that right there is the biggest limiting belief that people have as it pertains to relationships and love, is that they're unlovable. But it's like, if you exist, you are love. You are literally love by definition, just by your very existence. So it's kind of like to your point, you said everything is a limiting belief, more or less. And I do agree. Like our physical reality is literally comprised of limiting beliefs. It's taking this malleable energy, this collective consciousness, this infinite potentiality, and it's molding it and shaping it into a reflection of our egos, of our identities, our self-identities. And that's why channels like yours are very, very important, is to help people identify how they see themselves such that they can either change their projection or make the most of their projection. So that's something that I really, really appreciate as a man, especially just having an audience of people who I know struggle with that, as I myself have. I mean, if I had access to your channel a few years ago, I might be fucking married by now. Who knows? But it's just I don't know. That's a very beautiful purpose to me, and I feel like once people find that, and to your point earlier about the red pill's perception of purpose, and just it being more rooted in ego, when you find that soulful purpose that reflects that top of the pyramid, that's when you not only find enlightenment, but you live enlightenment in your life. So, I mean, with that being said, I don't know if you have any more questions or anything like that, or if you want to answer some of the questions from chat. It's really up to you.
No, I'm having so much fun on this stream, by the way. Like,
Likewise.
like I don't know if you have plans later, but I could keep going for literally hours. This is like so much fun. But
We
yeah,
can
no, I
answer some
agree with
questions.
everything that. Yeah. Let's answer some questions.
Let's see. You can let me know if you see one that's interesting.
Oh, I don't have the comments up. I haven't had the comments up.
Good. They've been wilding in the chat. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
think
made
I
a
didn't
rule
see.
for myself. Yeah, I made a rule for myself a while ago not to have like the chat up. This was before I made a YouTube channel, but I think it was like I don't know, it's a whole story, but I did a live stream and then I was like, comments up, never a thing, so I've not had any. But
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
yeah, like ask questions, but yeah, I like you can choose a question. But I just agree with everything that you say because you only get one life. And I'm telling you, like, life is never easy, but don't let anybody tell you that we have it worse because, like,
We're
we
blessed.
have, you know, yeah, and a lot, we have our mental frustrations and our mental demons, and that's tough within itself, but it's at least there's like, you know, freedom in that somewhat, if that makes sense.
I feel that. I feel that. I'm trying to find like a genuine question, man. These people are
Yeah,
wilding, man. Y'all
I,
are wilding, bro. Let me see. Hold on. What's good, Ice Cold JT? Ask some non-GMO questions, y'all. That's what I'm saying. We need some really, really good questions.
you know, I have GMO dogs.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, my mom has Pomeranians, and I call them GMO dogs. You
For
know,
what?
because I don't know, like Pomeranians as like a dog breed are just so not like dogs, like how you would expect them to be. Like they go to the bathroom on this paper that we have in our house, if that makes sense. And I call them not, or I call them GMO because I'm like they're genetic, and they look like stuffed animals.
GMO dogs is crazy.
Yeah.
But we have a question right here from Bet YT. I appreciate the donation. Ask her how she feels about makeup. Amanda, how do you feel about makeup?
Um, so something interesting I find that like Jordan Peterson, I guess, and not like I like Jordan Peterson and all that, like not hating, but something interesting I find is like, oh, women just wear makeup for blah blah blah, men, whatever, whatever. And it's so funny because I talk to my mom about this stuff like a lot, and it's so funny. Women, you'd be surprised, women dress up for other women. I know it's crazy. I know it doesn't make any sense, but I'm telling you, I like just think about how men versus women work. Like men, you know, they're like, "Oh, you know, she's pretty with or without makeup." Women are like very much what are you wearing, what outfit is this, like all my friends are like female, so I'm in a group chat, you know, we're about to like go somewhere or whatever, and they're sending like outfits or buying new things. It's like women dress for other women. I swear, not to say that they don't dress for guys at all, but you'd be, when it comes to the details such as makeup or such as like a certain designer, you'd be surprised, not saying all, not saying 100%, but like 80% of that is women dressing for other women or looking good for other women
I
because
feel that. I agree.
the whole thing.
I agree with that. I have seen there were like girls that I talked to in the past where they'll just put on makeup, a full face of makeup at 3 in the morning and then just take it off. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, you're just wasting money. But if that's what you like to do, then you should do
Yeah,
it. But I do feel like men. I feel like everybody's a little bit like narcissistic in a sense.
yeah,
Like everyone just assumes that people are doing everything for them, whether
exactly.
it's positive or negative. But I mean, makeup. Like, I mean, you don't seem like you wear a lot of makeup. So is that not something that you really care about, or what? Like, what's your thing?
So for me personally, luckily, I was born with really good skin. Like I never had an acne problem or any of that. So I'm really bad at makeup. Like I put on some eyeshadow and then I put on some like eyeliner, like on like the, you know, on my like the inner eyeliner. and then I do mascara, and that's about it. And then most days I don't wear makeup though. In fact, I majority of the time I don't wear makeup. Anytime in the recent months, especially because I'm like not able to walk again. I'll just be putting on makeup specifically for my YouTube channel or whatever. I'm not a big fan of makeup. I'm not like obsessed with it. But yeah, it's just people that put on makeup. It's just interesting. It's not like women are sitting there going like, let me increase my biological mating perspective and put on makeup. Like no. Women just want to
Oh, hell
look
no.
good for the mirror and other women. Like they just want, if you were a woman, you'd want to increase whatever. But for the most part, for me personally, I've never been a huge fan. I'm actually really bad at makeup. I wish I was good at it though, because I have a lot of respect. Makeup is an art, it's a form of expression. It's not just some sort of like, let me reproduce while I put on, while I like do this inner eyeshadow, whatever. A lot of dudes, like Jeffree Star, is like one of the top makeup. He's literally a dude. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like makeup is a whole form of expression. And to sort of be like, oh, it's just for biological mating. It's like, I kind of just wish life was that simple, to be honest with you. Like, honestly, like,
I
sure.
feel that.
But yeah, like, no, like, Jeffree Star does, like, and he's not the only one. Like, a lot of James Charles, like, a lot of dudes do makeup. It's just a form of expression. I don't wear a lot, but do wear some of my eyes just for, the sake of it, I guess. I don't know, just to, like, look a little bit better. I don't know.
I feel that. Hold on, I gotta go full screen. I can't read these damn comments anymore. They're fucking me up.
Oh
But
gosh.
let me ask you a question real quick. So when I was doing my last stream, you made this very controversial comment that Jeep Wranglers are the best cars out there. And I don't know if you thought I was gonna forget about that, but first of all, I want to tell you to your face right now that that is absolute cap. But I'm still curious as to what your justification is. Why do you feel like Jeep Wranglers are the best cars out there? Please explain. Please elaborate.
I've become like a multi-millionaire. I'm not kidding you. I will only own Jeep Wranglers. Seriously. Seriously. I'm being 120% honest. That's all I will own. I swear. They're just amazing. Um, I dream about them in the day. I don't know.
You
But
dream about them.
so I do have I do have a shirt called it says Wrangler on it and it's black, but I think I left it at my house. So I don't have it at this one, but so I don't have it here. So I'm wearing a regular car shirt. It's not a Jeep Wrangler, but I did try to find
Oh
it this
my
morning and I don't think I have it with me right now. But yeah, Jeep Wranglers are the best car. I don't know. I don't understand the purchase of a car that's not a Jeep Wrangler, to be honest with you.
But I still haven't heard any legit justification as to why it's the best car though. Now we're talking logic now. Is it just an emotional thing or like why? Like why are Jeep Wranglers the best cars? And mind you, I don't have anything against Jeeps. My cousin has a Jeep. It's really nice. It's a white black rims, has underglow, it's lifted. The shit is nice. But it costs $80 to fill up. So like what's the trade-off there? Like what do you get out of driving a Jeep Wrangler, especially when you live in an urban setting? Like I don't understand
Yeah.
that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is somewhat emotional, but it's also very logical. I'm not gonna lie. Jeep Wranglers are so I want to preface this by saying the Jeep trucks are a disgrace.
Okay.
They like I don't so when you get a Jeep Wrangler, they tell you at the dealership that you're supposed to do the Jeep wave, which is like a peace sign or like wave. Um, but whenever I see it, like I'll like sometimes do it to a Jeep truck, and then I'll see that it's a truck on the end, and I'm like, ew, what did I just like? You know what I mean? Like
Why?
I don't know, because like the Jeep truck like pisses me off. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like
What do you how? Why? Like what's the difference?
it just looks wrong. It just looks wrong. Like I just think any other car company could do whatever they want, but Jeep making a Jeep truck, like don't disgrace the entire brand. You know what I mean? Like it just looks off-putting. But yeah, Jeeps do use up a lot of gas, but they're, I don't know, even if it's not a Wrangler, even if it's an old Jeep, I just think it's beautiful, except for Jeep trucks. That looks wrong. Oh my god.
Okay, so I want to know how
Oh,
does I want you to look at this picture. How does it make you feel?
it
What
makes
what emotions are popping up right now in your heart?
like gross, disgusted, offended, wrong. Like what is that? Like what is that? Like
It's literally a Jeep, except they just cut the back off. It's the same thing.
no, I even like a Jeep Cherokee. Like I'm just, but something about a Jeep truck is just like it makes me feel like just wrong. Like something's wrong about that. I don't know.
What do you mean? I still don't understand it. I'm still not seeing the appeal of Jeeps in general. Like, what's the difference between that and this? That's the same exact car. That is literally the same car.
See,
All they did was just cut this little shit off the back.
see, everything's right in the world when you search that Jeep. Like everything, like I can breathe again. You know, like I'm not feeling
Jesus Christ.
suffocated.
I personally, I don't get it. But to each their own. Me personally, the only Jeep I would get is the, do you know what's that shit called? The Trackhawk? That's literally the best Jeep that there is. That's like, it's pretty much, it's like a Hellcat. Do you know what a Hellcat is?
No.
We're just gonna sit here in silence for a little bit.
You gotta Google some of these things.
Okay. So that's crazy to me. Jeep. Real ones know about the Trackhawk. Hold on real quick. Put you guys on game. This is the only Jeep that really truly matters. Share. 3.5 seconds, 0 to 60. See, this isn't bad.
Turkey?
This isn't bad. No. This is not a regular Cherokee. This is not a regular Cherokee. Cherokees don't move like this one does. This is like a Cherokee, but with a Hellcat engine in it. That's the only Jeep that matters. That is the only Jeep that matters. But now don't look at me like that because you know I'm telling the truth. But
No.
now that I think I've tapered the chat a little bit. Let me see if they actually ask some real questions. Because I seen some shit in there that I've never even heard of before. Jeeps for middle-aged soccer moms. I agree. Let's see. We need some questions, man. Preferably either spirituality or relationship-based questions. Please, Jordan, ask her where she expects Tinder to be in 5 years. Where do you expect Tinder to be in 5 years?
So I think Tinder is very annoying in the sense that, sorry, I'm like trying to look for this photo I had on my phone of a Jeep Cherokee that I liked, but I don't know if I can find it. I know it's on there, but so this is the whole thing again with the viewing dating from a logical perspective. It's like if you are a dude, like just don't, for the most part, don't use Tinder. It's if you go out there and talk to women in real life, you're just gonna feel better as a human being. If you talk to other human beings as human being, you're just gonna talk about a way to develop an ego.
Yeah.
Having charisma with like multiple other human beings in real life is the way to feel great about yourself. And the problem is that guys are like, oh my god, women only, it's like swipe right on attractive men on Tinder. It's like, again, like I said earlier with that psychology study, if Abercrombie man A was like shown in a box, and then Abercrombie man B was shown in a box, and then women were taking notes in a classroom. Not Abercrombie, but average looking man B was shown in a box. All the women in the classroom would circle man A, including the men, because like that the man model man is just objectively attractive to even men. You know what I'm saying? Like just anybody. But if
Yeah.
average looking man B, and they both came out of the screen and were real people, and model man Abercrombie man A had no personality, had no game, no charisma, but average looking man B did, he would attract the most women. Like if they came out. So that's why it's just like Tinder is very it's just it's not the way women work. And then B, if you're not super on paper attractive as a man, don't think that that's holding you back from the dating game. You just got to talk to women. That's it, in person. Because women in their logical mindset, we're emotional creatures. We're in their, like, you know what I mean? In theory, and then even if you are attractive, you can't maintain a woman just because of that. You have to
Feel
have the
that.
right energy. Seriously, seriously. That's why we have Pete Davidson again. I just like to bring Pete Davidson up. And like, even though like, he's not in any successful relationships at the current moment, it doesn't matter. He's gotten with some of the best women in Hollywood, the best women. He got with Ariana Grande before he
He
was even
did.
successful in his comedy career. And then
Sure as hell
so many
did.
girls, simp Pete Davidson, so many girls. Like I would like what they haven't even like Pete Davidson, he doesn't work out. He literally, he has like a whole thing. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't, he's not conventionally attractive, but he has that personality. So in that game and that like energy and stuff like that. So don't get too caught up in Tinder. I think Tinder for men just doesn't work. And then but men take that as like, okay, women only like if you were a dude on Tinder looking at other dudes, you'd only swipe right on the conventional looking dudes too. You know what I mean? Like conventional good looking dudes,
You
like
said if I was a dude on Tinder swiping on other dudes,
yeah, you would
I mean I
swipe.
would just close the app personally.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just me.
yeah. No, but I mean, like, anybody can see from a logical, like anybody, both men and women, if the attractive dude A versus average looking guy B, both men and women would be like, okay, obviously dude A is more attractive. But if they were to jump out of the screen and dude A had no game, but dude B, average looking dude B did, and he was like funny and all these things, like all the women would be flocking towards them. That's just how women work. So Tinder, in my opinion, just keeps men in their logical mindset. And it's just a limiting belief when you look at the studies from Tinder. It's like, okay, so women swiped on what, like a dude that you even would find attractive out of the other guys on an app. You got to talk to women in person. And women go out more than men do because women are naturally more extroverted than men are. So women are out at these social gatherings like a lot of men aren't at. You got to talk to women.
Oh wait, hold on. Let me interject real quick. You feel like women are more naturally extroverted than men?
Slightly, yes. Yeah, yeah,
I never really thought about that. That's interesting. I'm not. I'm neutral on that, but
yeah.
go on.
No, I think men tend to be more analytical, logical, and introverted, versus women tend to be more emotional, charismatic, extroverted, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that.
That's why like this like, quarantine affected men differently than it affected women, if that makes sense. Because of the social isolation that it did for men, because men are more like left brained. I feel like women are more and there's actual, I know I was just like, complaining about psychological studies, but when it comes to the brain, you can literally look at the female brain as opposed to the male brain, and our brains interconnect both sides. That's why I'm like an introverted female, but it's like I'm not like it's interesting. That's what allows me the ability to do this job. But it's interesting because a lot of women are way more extroverted than you may think. Like even my mom and my sister, it's so funny because like me, my brother, my dad, like I'm just like whatever. But we're like, well, I'm literally not the majority of women, and I'm not trying to say that like, oh, I'm cooler, I'm special. I mean, to each their own. You can't just, categorize everybody. But it's funny because my mom and my sister are very extroverted, and their ability, and also my friends, my female friends are very like extroverted as well, and their ability to talk to other people is just insane. Like women, just even myself, honestly, sometimes too. Women, the way women talk to women versus how men talk to men, or how men talk to women and how women talk to men. The way women talk to women, it's like there's 1,000 words said. But then even myself, like honestly, I'm not even gonna even lie. Like I'm more introverted as a woman, but I'm not like an introverted man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can easily talk. There's even studies that show like not studies because I know, but there's things that say that women for every like I know this is an exaggeration of it, but for every like 50 words that like a man says, a woman says like 200. You know, like that's what it's like talking to a woman. Even myself, especially myself, I say way more things than like my brother or anybody ever could. Like it's just hilarious in that way.
That makes sense. I mean, I guess the reason why my perception was a little warped is because my parents are the opposite. Like my dad is way, way more extroverted than my
Yeah,
mom, way more extroverted.
yeah,
So that one kind of shocked me a little bit, but I see it though for sure. I mean, I'm a very introverted guy myself. A lot of people don't know this because you only ever see me on YouTube where I'm talking. But if people meet me in real life, and I won't even say that because if you meet me in real life, obviously I'm going to talk to you if you support me. But if you get to know me over a long period of time, you see that I really spend a lot of time by myself. Like to the extent that sometimes it's unhealthy and I have to force myself to get out. But I don't know, that's a very interesting concept to me. Um,
no, yeah, and
Men
there's
being
always
more
exceptions to the
introverted.
rule too. Like if you're an extroverted guy, you're gonna attract like an introverted girl kind of thing. I feel like it's all about that balance, and also I feel like everybody's not just like polar opposites, but I do feel like for the most part, um, women for the most part can majority of women I feel like are on the more charismatic talking side. Um, Not to say that there's women that aren't at all, like at all, at all. Sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself in any way, but I
You're
know what
good.
you're talking about too. But I know a lot of men that are specifically in these kinds of community are more introverted, obviously, because the extroverted men aren't like even in these red pill, black pill kind of communities at all.
Yeah,
Like there's a reason why introverted men fall into these kinds of communities. Extroverted guys don't like, they're not thinking about that at all.
that makes sense. That makes sense for sure. Because I do feel like I think the problem is that a lot of people conflate introversion with being antisocial or lacking personality or
Yeah,
even just lacking the basic ability to express yourself. And that's why I made a video recently. I forgot which one it was, but I said that when you become an adult, you have to learn how to speak up. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. You have to learn how to speak up, or life will just wash you away. Like you have to learn how to express yourself, how to articulate yourself, how to communicate. Because without communication, I mean, and that starts with communicating with yourself first and foremost, knowing your desires, knowing yourself, which again goes back to channels like mine and channels like yours, where we help you kind of assess what you want and then get that, like take the right action to go about acquiring those things. But I don't know. I feel like everyone in general would greatly benefit. It behooves society as a whole to learn how to communicate.
right,
Because when you have proper communication, suddenly the red pill and black pill communities, all of this groupthink becomes obsolete because people they can talk. They're not operating based on assumptions and generalities. They're operating based on, ironically, logic
right.
because they've transcended their emotions. So it's kind of weird because going back to what we were saying about the hierarchy of needs, I feel like when you find that enlightenment, that's actually when you think the most logically.
Mm-hmm.
in a strange way. You think the most logically because you're no longer allowing your emotions to cloud your judgment.
Yeah.
And so you can discern with much more clarity than you would if you're operating from a lower level or just more of like a physical level. Your sense of logic is much more objective
Yeah.
than just being framed through your life, your individual perspective.
Yeah. Like the sense of truth or whatever. Um, but yeah, no, and I feel like though if women were naturally as introverted as men, not to say that again, not to say that some men are extroverted, whatever, there would be like a whole, like, not to say that there aren't women that fall into this category, but like the fact that red pill and black pill exists is very indicative of the fact that men are introverted in analyze situations versus women. Like there would be like pink and purple pill, and I know there's feminism, but there would be something like different, you know what I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even to like a greater extent, because even though feminism exists, like, first of all, one of the great things about direct experience is like how many women do you know in your direct experience that you're attracted to that says something like, you know, super absurd about all men? You know what I mean? It's like, I swear I know that it's like on TikTok or whatever. It'll be some women that, you know, to an extent sound delusional and they're like, you know, men aren't this, men aren't that. But like, if you've ever talked to a woman in your direct experience, like I've never heard. I'm friends with all females. I've never heard, and they're all like attractive looking females, either with or without boyfriends. I've never heard any of them like speak like that, if that makes sense. So it is quite interesting. But there is articles about something called like femcell or something, and it's like females that also have their
Femcell?
own, yeah. And it's like I read it a long time ago, but it's like females that have their own Reddit, and it's like if this isn't so like I don't know, but obviously it's like very not as big as the male, you know, perception of it is. But I just think the reason why men struggle with dating more in the first place is due to their um introvertedness and analytical thinking, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But especially after a time like quarantine, it's just going to put you in your head. And
Yeah.
women are going to overcome that quicker than men will. Um, but that's not to say like, oh my God, women have it better, men have it better. Like, no. But that's just to say that that's the reason why this is so prevalent in like the male community versus women, if that makes sense. I don't know.
That makes sense for sure. I like what you said about like none of your friends are really making these blanket statements or believing these blanket statements because it goes back to what I said earlier about the silent majority. You see, people, their perceptions are warped because of social media. You go on social media and you see a red pill YouTuber, and let's say a red pill YouTuber has 1 million subscribers, right? But 1 million people is actually not that many when you consider how many people are on this planet, right? And if we assume that maybe a quarter of the people on this planet, this is me being analytical, but if we assume that maybe a quarter of the people on this planet, so what, 2 billion people roughly, are dateable for you? I mean, 1 million subscribers out of 2 billion people, it's like that's the vast minority. It's just people that aren't actually out here living life
Yeah.
are the ones who are the most active in these internet communities because they confide in them. They find that sense of self, but it's not sustainable. I feel like at a certain point, everyone kind of graduates from the red pill or the black pill. I don't, at least speaking from my own experience and the observations of some of my friends that may have went through some of that stuff, is like we all went beyond because it's not in our nature as humans or as spirits to be stagnant. Like we're always going to be progressing in our lives. There's no way to just remain exactly where we are unless you're just not living life at all.
Yeah.
So that's something that people need to understand, man, is that the internet, this shit is not really real. People are, and myself included, this is something I've a realization that I've come to over and over again, is that it's all illusory. Desire, I'm gonna share something that I journaled about recently. Desire is the physical representation of the illusion of separation. Because if you think about at the top of that pyramid, our core desire is to connect, to love, right? And our egos perceive that as want, as lack. It sees that as I lack that, therefore I need to achieve it so that I can feel this love and this connection.
Right.
But it's only once you relinquish the desire that you can actually allow yourself to feel it,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is kind of a strange paradox in life,
Mhm.
is that it goes right back to just having to have faith before you can experience something. Because
Yeah.
even if you achieve something, you won't actually experience it if you're not faithful. And that's the lesson that I learned the hard way. Believe me when I tell everybody watching this, just hitting 100K and just doing everything that I thought I ever wanted to do, moving out and stuff, got a new car, bought some designers, like all that stuff. On the other side of that, it's just a deeper pool of dissatisfaction.
Mhm.
At a certain point, you realize I have everything that I thought I wanted, and I'm even more miserable because now I know that it won't fix my problems. So I have no choice
Right.
but to look within. So I think that that's something that people need to understand, is that it's okay to want a relationship. It's okay to want to be successful, but don't let those wants be desires. Let them be intentions that you have instead
Exactly.
of desires.
Yeah. No, like literally when my parents sent me to this boot camp that I was talking about earlier on the stream, like naked and afraid but with clothes on, when I was in the neck of the woods of Minnesota where I was at the time, and we literally almost made it to Canada by foot. There was no like cabins, we did not shower, no toilets, um, nothing like that. And I was the happiest there that I was in pure survival mode, and I was the happiest there than I've ever been in my life. But now I'm regaining that happiness again, even not being there. But it made me realize that we as humans, the best way to happiness is to appreciate this moment that we're in. Don't underestimate. I know this is hard to explain or perceive, but like our hand, this isn't actually a hand. That's just language used to describe what this is. What is this exact? You could say it's made up of atoms and it's made up of, what mass or whatever matter, whatever you want to say. And you can say this is a biological hand with like veins running through it, skin, an organ on top of it. But like it technically, when you're looking down at this, those are all words that you use to describe or perceive what this is. Um, but this is just beautiful as is, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Sometimes I like looking at my hand and just appreciating just the beauty. And I know it sounds stupid, and I'm not trying to sound like that, but just like
I
the
get exactly what you're saying.
in the art of like the fact that you're alive, what is life? We all die, we all die, we all go to bed, we all dream. Life is made up of different states of consciousness, like um smoking weed, that's a state of consciousness. Going to bed, sleeping, dreaming, that's a state of consciousness. Being tired, that's a state of consciousness. Like life is made up of all these things, but the way, and it sucks because our generation, we are so blessed, but in the same breath, like we will, I don't want to say we will never have, but we really have to start talking about how to achieve what it's like to appreciate being in the moment.
Yeah.
Because we're here on this live stream, but like, and you guys are watching or whatever, but what is this? We're all going to be dead someday. And just appreciate the, like, how magnificent it is for you to not be under attack or in survival mode or in any of this, to have honestly like the world be your oyster in a lot of ways because of the internet or whatever, if that makes sense. So just appreciate just like this moment. This is so cool. Like, the fact you're alive, like the fact you're even born. Like forget what I don't have. Think about the fact that you're even if it's painful, and I know it's hard to see in the moment, but the thing is that my painful experiences at least have been as important as my happy moments. Like they've been, if not more, in a lot of ways. Like the pain I've experienced mentally, things like that, have led me to where I am today, and they've been, at least I'm feeling something.
Yeah,
It's a problem when if you're feeling really depressed and if you're in pain, that's better than feeling nothing in a lot of ways. And if you're ecstatic, over the moon, happy, obviously, like that's great too. But you don't want to give up on life. You don't want to be nihilistic and empty inside. How are you going to be empty inside when literally all of this exists? Every material thing that you own, it exists. Even your hand. Like, don't be empty inside. That to me is a waste. Giving up is the biggest waste. Overcome nihilism. That's the biggest waste. Like, I don't care what you believe. I don't care if you're religious or if you're not, but just don't look at this and demystify it in a lot of ways.
I feel that. I feel that 100%. Just finding gratitude for the little things in life. I found that that's a very, very important practice. And when you finally reach that point where, even if just for a glimpse, you feel true presence and you truly feel the barriers of your ego dissolve, everything takes on a whole new form from your perspective. Like, I'll be driving, and this is some shit. I'm 22 years old, and it took me until this point to really start observing this shit. But there will be times where I'm driving, maybe during golden hour, and I'll see the way that the sunlight hits the trees and the color that it produces. And I'll like damn near have to pull my car over because I'm like intoxicated almost by it. And it's
Yeah.
such a simple thing that's been there since before I was here, and it'll be here after I die.
Yeah.
But it's such, those are the things that really bring the most joy, is the,
Yeah.
the cyclical
Exactly.
yet eternal pleasures of life.
Exactly.
Is just seeing the natural beauty,
Yeah.
because it reminds you of the top of that pyramid. It resonates with you. It's just all you have to do is eliminate the distractions.
Yeah.
Social media, this, we live in a time where we have access to information, but we also have access to distractions. Information has access to us, in a sense. And being able to cut off that flow of information in favor of wisdom can oftentimes be the most fulfilling and rewarding thing that you can do for yourself. I heard this quote. It was like, if you want to be intelligent, you add stuff to your life. If you want to be wise, you subtract stuff from your life. And that one fucked me up. I haven't been the same since I read that quote, because I
Yeah.
realized that living a simple life, I mean, you've said it twice now. Two of the happiest times of your life were when you were in the woods,
Hmm.
just living, just out here vibing, because all this other shit, this mind stuff,
Yeah.
you realize it's really not that relevant. The things
Yeah.
that we concern ourselves about, the things that we stress about, thinking about money and thinking about just all of the societal
Yeah.
pressures. Do these people think that I look good? It's like that shit really doesn't matter at the end of the
Doesn't.
day.
Right. Right. Oh yeah, I
Let me
completely
see.
agree. Okay, I do have
Shit.
to run to the bathroom real quick.
Matter of fact, me too. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Gratitude plus transcendental meditation, Jesus, can I read? Equals bliss. That's facts. That is absolute facts. Presence. Presence is bliss. Jordan, what is, in your opinion, a successful man? To me, a successful man is somebody who is satisfied with where they are and who they are in their lives. Bro, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, man. It's hot as hell in my apartment right now. My AC is broken. I need to put in a work order, but I haven't had time. It is hot as hell right now. I'm struggling. I'm doing it for you guys, though. Man, I can't stand you guys sometimes, bro. Jordan, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? I see myself being 32 years old. Everything else, I honestly don't know. That's a long time, bro. You gotta understand, 10 years ago, I was 12, bro. I was 12 years old 10 years ago. And I could have never predicted that I'd be where I am right now, much less who I am right now. So I feel like I'd be doing myself a disservice to try to predict that. Jordan, do you train your forearms? Not directly. I usually just I do weighted calisthenics, so a lot of bar work, just pull-ups, dips, things like that. And I get kind of, my forearms aren't really big like that. They just kind of, I don't know. They're more so hit as a subsidiary part of my body. I actually see a really good question here though. We're gonna touch on this one when she gets back. Pierre, I'm not reading that out loud, but that's crazy of you to say that. That's crazy of you to say that, bro. That is crazy. Pierre out here wilding, bro. Let's see. Where'd the question go? Man, Pierre distracted me. You skipped my super chat? Where? I did skip a few super chats, I think. Hold on, let me find it. I don't know if it'll let me go that far up though, depending on where you did it. Jordan, ask her thoughts on hookup culture. I'm gonna do that one. What would you guys rate each other 1 to 10? That's crazy, bro. That is crazy. Hold on real quick. We skipped a few super chats. I'm gonna need to go on a whole detox after the stream, bro, reading y'all's comments. I think Mississippi bird bath. That's one of the craziest comments I've ever read in my entire life. Hold on real quick. Okay, so I saw a really, really good question from somebody. They said, what are her thoughts on empathy and feminine guys getting with girls? For example, Lil Peep and Michael Jackson.
Oh my god, I love Little Peep. Stop.
Lil Peep is crazy.
I've seen that documentary about him, like, I think over 3 times at this point, and I've cried every time. I feel like his experience on life, I don't know, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy kind of person. and it's not my place to say. I actually thought about making a video on Lil Peep before, but I'm like, I can't because I don't know the situation well enough. But from my understanding of the documentary, he was such an empathetic person. And when he passed away, like, this is so crazy that this is being brought up. I have like such a I can't even tell you how much I love him. But when he passed away, I felt as though the people that were in his tour bus or whatever were like clout chasers. And this is what I don't know. I'll never say this again because I don't know the situation. I could be wrong. But from my perception of his documentary, the people in his bus when he passed away were like very clout chasing kind of people. And it's insane to me that he died when literally he was in a tour bus full of his own tour bus full of like people that were supposed to be there for him, if that makes sense. And nobody checked on him for like hours. Like he
For
wasn't
hours?
hours, I
Like
think.
he was like unresponsive in the bus?
Yes. And nobody checked on it. Like he went in the
I
back,
didn't know that.
nobody checked on him for a long time. And if somebody was checking in on him, that's I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not saying allegedly. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm right. But from my understanding is that he was somebody who made it and super empathetic in the world and gave away a lot of his fortune and attracted the wrong kind of people. I don't know. Like that was my understanding. And I think that he should still be here today if he had one person on his tour bus that cared about him.
Bet YT, I appreciate the donation yet again. Jordan, ask her thoughts on hookup culture. How do you feel about hookup culture? Did we answer this one already or no?
Um, kind of. I was just saying on my channel, I'll teach pickup because I do feel like some guys are looking just for that. If that makes sense.
But like, what are your personal thoughts on it though?
Um, personally, I just have known from a young age that that's not something that's going to make me happy. However, if that's something that's going to make you happy, especially if you're a guy, don't think that that's not something that you can't tap into because you don't look a certain kind of way or because you don't make a certain kind of money. Again, that's where pickup comes into play. So I feel as though I definitely want to do a series on my channel where I help men casually have, you know, relations with women in that way through going to nightclubs or social circles. Like there's many ways to meet women. And if you want that, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. However, is it something that works for me personally? No, but I don't want to insinuate that that's what's right or what's like wrong in life. You know what I mean? I think
I feel
different
that.
things work for everybody. And even as a dude, like if you're like, you know what, I really kind of want to get laid. I don't know what it is. I really want like then that's fine. You don't have to go on the hero's journey to get laid, in my opinion. In my opinion, especially for a guy. You just have to learn pickup. This is where pickup overrides everything about black pill, red pill. Because some guys, not all guys, but some guys need to just get laid just once, just to prove to themselves, like, okay, I got like some guys like the thing that self development lacks is like sometimes not lacks, and we were talking about this earlier, but in theory, it's great to go on like the self improvement journey first and then attract women. But everybody's built different, and I know for a fact a lot of guys need to just get laid in order to
Whoa, wait, hold on, hold on. Can you repeat that previous sentence? Everyone is what?
what built
Everyone
different,
is what?
built
Everyone is
different.
built different.
Yeah. No, that's
If you know,
yep.
you know.
No, I know that's your motto. Built different. But yeah, everybody's built different. And if you're a guy and you want to participate in hookup culture, don't watch Red Pill, don't watch Black Pill. If anything, watch Pickup and my channel. No, I'm kidding. But if anything, like you can get laid. It's just like, do you even go to nightclubs? Do you even attend like are you even talking to people? Honestly. And if you're not, then of course you're not gonna get laid. You know, talk to people in real life. Forget Tinder, forget like just go outside, talk to people. I know it's not that easy. I'm not saying that, but there is a way to go about having casual encounters as a man if you really want to. And I don't want you guys to be disillusioned with the limiting belief that you can't. Even if you're short, even if you're this, even if you don't work out, even if you don't make a lot of money, it doesn't matter. You really can get laid in this moment. Just start studying pickup, honestly. But
100%.
for me personally, no, it doesn't bring happiness. However, I think whatever floats everybody's boat, it's different. Just don't think that you are the victim of your circumstance. You're the creator of it. So,
That's facts. This is facts. And I'm going to give you guys a quick little gem about the victim complex because that's something that I struggled with for the vast majority of my life. Even to this day, I still struggle with that sometimes. But when you understand that you're the creator of your reality, you understand that you create the victim complex for yourself. And so, even in knowing that you have the victim complex, that is pretty much one of the most empowering understandings that you can have. Because if you have the freedom to create a situation in which you seemingly don't have freedom, I mean, what better testimony is there, or what better testament is there to your freedom as a creator of your reality? But we have a question from Fit Life Kev. I appreciate the donation. What are your thoughts on porn causing erectile dysfunction on today's young men? Do you want to answer that one first, or do you want me to go first?
you can go first.
Okay, yeah. So for me personally, I do feel like there is a correlation. I mean, it's kind of on a case by case basis. It depends on what you grew up watching, how long you've been watching it, so on and so forth. But I do feel like porn, generally speaking, I feel like people shouldn't really consume it. I feel like any perceived upside that there may be is negated by the negatives, in my opinion and in my experience. You guys know, if you've been following my channel for long enough, that I personally struggled with that partially because of pornography consumption, as well as just first time jitters. But that shit is not fun, bro. When you've been waiting 20 years and you finally get a girl, like, and you're not able to perform, that shit is demoralizing, bro. That shit is absolutely demoralizing. So I would say just it's better to be safe than sorry, and just cut that shit out completely. But what's your take on that?
So in terms of the whole, P0RN, that's how I like say it. Like P0RN and no fap thing. So this is the thing. I haven't made a video on this yet because A, I need to do more research, and like B, I I am a woman, so I don't have like a penis. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't, so I don't have that. However, let me tell you, that industry, like the P0RN industry, is affecting. Billie Eilish talks about it, and she's a woman. I was exposed to that at a young age. I feel like that really had an impact on our entire generation, especially men. But also women are impacted by it too. Don't get me wrong. Like it really messed my reality up. So I can't even imagine what that is doing for men. And
Exactly.
do I think that you need to go on? So this is my personal opinions on NoFap. Again, I'm not researched on this yet, and I'm not a dude, so I could be completely wrong. My whole thing is just I don't think how like porn is beneficial for you. I don't think there's anything wrong with self pleasure, but maybe cut out porn because that can be a real escape mechanism that can hurt you in your sexual relations with women.
Yeah.
That can give you a false reality of how to pleasure somebody or something like that. So in terms of that, do I think nofap is necessary? Personally, no. I think cutting out porn, though, I think that's, but I could be wrong. I might revoke my stance on this. I don't know. But I think it's really always a great idea to cut out porn. But I think in terms of like nofap, I think it just depends on the individual. If you
Exactly.
don't want to be doing that, and if that's going to benefit you, then by all means. However, I just do think that porn overall is just very toxic for both men and women and just everybody. Too, but especially in our generation, kind of thing too. It's tough. And then if anybody, I don't know if anybody out there has kids in the chat, but if you're young and you have young kids, like just really try everything to prevent them from that, you know. I think it's tough, but yeah, like porn definitely not it. Um, and yeah, self pleasure, like going on NoFap may help you too. I don't know. I really don't know about that, but I'm just saying that though. I think it stinks. I think it stinks. I think I just hate it so much, and yeah, I just think it's tough. So
I
sucks.
feel that. I agree that like I had somebody comment on one of my recent NoFap videos, and they were like, Jordan, I've been doing NoFap for like 3 weeks. I haven't really seen any benefits. And then they proceeded to leave another comment saying that they had refrained from self pleasure, but they were still watching porn. I was like, well, bro, there's the problem. In my personal opinion, it is much better to self pleasure and not watch porn than it is to watch porn and not self
Yeah.
pleasure. Because porn is really like 90% of what's fucking your mind up. I think that self pleasure, personally, I prefer not to indulge in it because I do believe that I have an addictive personality, as some of you may have seen in my one of my recent videos. I just go overboard with pretty much everything that I do. But I do feel like you have to judge yourself on a case by case basis. That's something that you guys can't come to us for all of the answers. But like as content creators, we don't know everything. And any content creator that claims to know everything, that's
Mhm.
somebody that you should be very wary of. Because those are typically the people that perpetuate groupthink at the highest possible level for their own benefit more often than not. So just be very mindful of that, be very cognizant of that. But another question from, oh yeah, Ice Come JT. You love to see it. I appreciate the donation. Get your guitar and poetry out, Jordan Blue. So actually, I do want to touch on that real quick. You said before the stream that you majored in creative writing.
Yeah.
So how did you get into writing, and like what type of stuff do you like to write?
Um, so great question. So weirdly enough, like I always struggled with reading and writing in school. However, I just love the creativity aspect of creating your own story. And as somebody who almost like failed high school, I wasn't really looking for going to college. Like I personally didn't even want to. It was, but however, I am very, very lucky and blessed in the sense that my parents could afford me going to college. Like they could pay for all of it. So, like, in that aspect, I really did have to go in a sense because they could pay for it. And that's just like, honestly, college is so expensive. So it's like, that's not an opportunity that would be in anybody's best interest, I feel like, to turn down. So yeah, so I went to art school and I majored in creative writing because I was like, okay, if I'm gonna go to school after high school, because I just hated high school, I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I want to do something fun and creative. I don't I think I'm an okay writer. However, I think my standards of writing is something I would love. This is what I'm passionate about now and everything, but um writing is something I would love to just keep working on. If for me it's if you don't use it, you lose it, you know, in terms of everything when it comes to writing. So I'm always reteaching myself everything about writing. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have dyslexia or whatever, which isn't like a bad thing or anything. Like I think it benefits me in a lot of ways, in so many ways, and I'm thankful for it, and I don't hate it or anything like that. However, it's just kind of ironic that I went into this for a major because it has been like a deficit in my life and things like that. Um, but yeah, and I love stories. I love classical literature. I really, really do. I love reading. I'm learning to love reading. I'm learning to, I don't want to say I love it just quite yet because I've just started really learning to love reading. And it's taken me like maybe like 4 years to get to the place where I'm at with learning to love reading. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's taken years. Like stuff doesn't happen overnight, but I think it's amazing that you can write your own stuff. I have a lot of respect for writing and classical literature and everything like that. But definitely not a STEM person. Never in my life. Never in my life. Math, science, not for me. Like if I'm bad at writing, like math and science are like so below that. Like you know what I mean?
I
So
feel
yeah.
that.
I've always been an arts person, not a, business STEM person ever, ever, ever. I don't know. But yeah.
I feel that. I feel like this is a partially controversial statement, I guess. I tell my friends this all the time, and they think that I'm tripping, but I think it's true. Everyone actually likes reading. It's just a lot of people haven't found the right books to read.
Mm.
Like, I mean, there's so many different forms of literature out there
Yeah.
that, like, for example, I'm reading this book right here, Learning to Love Yourself, for the third time. I like books like that. I like books that are, that talk about healing and talk about spirituality and kind of intertwine psychology and spirituality in those ways to um, reinforce, not even reinforce, but just take a different angle on manifestation.
Yeah.
And that's just my personal thing. But for you, like you said, classical literature, everyone has their thing that they like. It's just that they haven't discovered it yet, which personally, I think that that's a flaw in the school system. It's just, they kind of force certain things. I mean, me personally, I thought I wasn't a very good writer coming out of high school just because of the AP test. Like, I bombed it. I absolutely bombed it. But come to find out, I'm actually a pretty good writer,
Yeah.
if I may say so myself. And I feel like that's you guys have to follow that gift that you
Yeah.
have. You
Yeah.
have to follow that gift and that passion. Like when you have that inner calling, like okay, like how you said if you don't use it, you lose it. I agree to an extent, but like for example with math, I was always good like across the board with every subject, but I graduated early from high school, so I had a 6 month long summer. And then I didn't take math until my second semester of college, right before I dropped out. So I went like a year without taking a math class, and I was humbled. That's when I realized, oh, maybe math isn't one of my, like I'm good at it, but I'm not exceptional at it. Because if I take a year off from doing it, I mean, I scored like a B. I had a B in it for like the first time since like middle school.
Yeah.
So, but writing, I took a year off from writing, and I came back and I was still, I'd say, above average. And so a lot of times when you have that gift for something, or that natural proclivity for something, you can't ever truly lose it, but it does behoove you to nourish that gift and really try to make the most out of it as possible. So like what do you like to write? Like you write short stories or you write poetry? Are you working on any books or what? Like what does Amanda like to write?
Um, Also, I want to say I think you're really good at writing. I know I
Thank
haven't
you. Thank you.
purchased Soul Shock, but I have seen one of your poems before. Like I don't know if you put it in like your description or comments, but I've like read it before on one of your videos. I can't remember because it was like kind of a while ago. And then I've seen other people read your work on videos, if that makes sense. Like there was like some
Yeah.
background, and it wasn't your channel, but somebody was like reading your work. So
Yeah.
I've like I feel like I've gotten like even though I haven't purchased Soul Shock, I've gotten a good um, conception of your writing, and I think it's really awesome, and I think it's like super good, and I think you should
Thank you.
totally continue pursuing that 120%. Like keep going with that, honestly, and no last name pun intended, but if you've ever read Robert Greene, I like his books. Um,
His name sounds familiar. What has he written? What are some of
like
his books?
laws of human nature and like laws of seduction,
I
power.
haven't I haven't read any of them before.
Oh my gosh, I have to put you on. You would love him.
Put me on game.
Amazing. He's amazing. He's super good, super well rounded. He's older now, but he's awesome. His words are awesome. You would love. Oh my gosh, his books are expensive because they're thick, but you would love Laws of Human Nature. That's what I'm reading right now. So, and I know there's something about seduction which I have to purchase, especially for my YouTube channel. But he's super cool. He just takes like historical figures and learns off of them and applies them into like a well-rounded view of like human nature and all of that. But for me, I've just always I'm creative before I am like a writer, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
always loved making up stories in my head, very much since I was a kid. You know, science fiction, things like that always have gotten to me. I love, Black Mirror on Netflix or whatever. I think there's a lot of, I like drawing outside of the lines. And I do love reading classical literature and am learning to love it even more. But that's where I've read most of my books. I think classical literature provides you with such an interesting viewpoint on life because it's written at a time, obviously, before we were all born. And even though it's fiction, in a lot of ways, it's so phenomenal. Like classical literature has like brought me to tears at certain points. But it's not easy to read though. But the greatest thing is that there's like a lot of audiobooks available on YouTube for free of classical literature because it's like in the public domain or whatever. Just like paintings and things like that. Like there's no copyright, so you can literally start reading it today if you really want it or start listening to it. But and what's so annoying too is and at least in my high school, we read The Great Gatsby, and I'm like, bro, like out of all the books, this is so not like not that it's bad. I'm not hating on The Great Gatsby, but I feel like there's so many other pieces out there that are way better than The Great Gatsby. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I feel that. I feel like classic literature is classic for a reason. Like it's timeless. And it
Yeah,
goes back to just understanding that deeper truth of life. You see it everywhere. And that's what makes them timeless. That's what makes these books, that's what enables them to transcend all of these eras where they might have been written generations ago,
yeah,
but people are reading them now and they'll be reading them generations from now.
yeah,
So, I mean, as a creative, I definitely strive to kind of do that same thing, just in my own way. It's obviously not the easiest thing to do, but I think it's very fulfilling. Just even trying to do it, it's very, very fulfilling. So, what do you plan on? Where do you plan on taking that, or how do you plan on like implementing that? Do you plan on writing a book in the future at all?
Um, well, I guess like the goal is to I really do want to become a dating coach for men, like as a living. I've realized over over the past year, and especially just starting my YouTube channel, that is definitely where I want to go with things. I felt actually I watched I think it was called like the Pickup Artist or something when I was in middle school, and it was with this guy mystery. I don't know. It was an early show. It was crazy. It was like I always felt like I was called to do this even from like a very young age, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I definitely want to continue to pursue becoming a dating coach, but also on the side, I definitely want to uh, refine my skill of being a writer. And I would love to, in theory, write books. Even for what I'm doing like now, I would love to write a book about like dating and things that I've taken away from like a holistic perspective. But yeah, I mean, I love reading and writing. This is what I want to do for now, and in the future, I would love to produce something creative in that aspect, which has nothing to do with any of this. But also in the meantime, I would like to produce books that are more tangible and things like that to do with this.
I feel that. That's kind of me and my friend Bryce Wilson. Shout out to Bryce Wilson. We were having a conversation about like writing, content. All of these things are simply mediums of expression
Yeah.
for our core message. And so, like, he's a mental performance coach. I consider myself to be like a life coach. And then you could be kind of like a dating coach, pickup coach, just in that space.
Mhm.
And so I think that when you stay true to that core purpose, the medium of expression can change from time to time, but as long as you're fulfilling the core purpose, you'll always find fulfillment. And that's, a lot of people ask me how I regained the passion for YouTube because there was a point in time when I was just about ready to leave my channel behind to focus on writing.
Yeah.
But I realized like they're two different mediums of expression that can't be compared. They complement each other. Writing, it makes me a better speaker. And speaking makes me a better writer. And they go hand in hand. So I do think that it definitely serves all of us well to tap into as many mediums of expression as we possibly can, especially as creatives. But I resonate with everything that you said about just you were always creative, you were always kind of outside of the lines in a sense. I know you probably, well, did you mean that like literally or metaphorically?
Honestly, both.
That's kind of how I took it. Because I was the same way growing up. I liked writing my own short stories in class. I liked making fortune tellers, and I liked doing origami.
Yeah.
I liked just trying to do shit. Like that was my thing as a kid. I would just do shit. And I think that a lot of people are like that actually. Most people are like that. It's in our nature. But over time we lose it. We lose it because of groupthink.
Yeah.
But once you can escape from that just by sheer self-awareness, that's when you tap into that same unbridled creativity while also having the frame of reference of your accumulation of wisdom through your life. And that's when suddenly you find yourself publishing books in your early 20s. You're like, oh shit, like I didn't know I could do this, but you just look up and you're like, wow, like that really happened.
Yeah. No, I think that's super cool also, that you published Soul Shock. Like, again, congratulations on doing that. That's
Thank
like,
you.
that's amazing, amazing, amazing. Like my creative writing classes would literally love to hear you talk. That I truly think that that's super awesome. And also, I think this is one thing that I do, even though I want to teach all these tangible things on my channel about how to get women. One thing I also want to teach to men is like, even if you're a dude and you're going into like a business field or a STEM career, it's always good to get in touch with your creative side, whatever that means to you, because that's getting in touch with your inner child. And I
Yes.
think if you're a guy and if you're able to do that, you'll be I know it sounds like a bunch of, cheesy, whatever, uh, but, airy fairy kind of thing. But if you're a guy and you're able to just get in touch with no matter how old you are, you can always get in touch with your inner child and your, creative side, whatever that means to you. And it makes you less codependent of a person counterintuitively, because then you kind of start to fall in love with this like magic that's just apparent in life, as opposed to just putting all of your like eggs in one, girl's basket or something like that. It just allows life to be a lot cooler in a lot of different ways. And I think in the same sense, it makes you less codependent. So that's why it's really important to get in touch with your inner child as an adult. Most adults don't do this, but it's like, especially if you had a good childhood, or even if you didn't, it's just important for you to get in touch from the time when you were a kid and you viewed life with curiosity. Like, this is one thing I've noticed while going, because I'm healing myself so I can heal others, especially. So I went on this healing journey as well. But the number one thing I'm realizing as I'm healing myself is I'm feeling more like a kid than I ever felt before, in like
Yeah.
the best kinds of ways. Like, and that's super important. And just because people become adults and life gets real does not mean that there's no time for um, you to get in touch with your like zest for life and things like that. So I think that's really important. And this is something that's very much preached to women, at least, but it's not preached enough to men. And I feel like that's a problem, like, again, like I always say this, but if a girl were to get broken up with and she looks up like on Google, like, he just broke up with me, what do I do? It's like, Cosmo shows up and it's like 15 ways to recover from a breakup. And it's like, take a bath, buy essential oils, like, buy flowers for yourself, like go painting, like do this, do that. And then if a guy looks up, like, I just got broken up with, what do I do? Like, and then also for the girl thing, it's like she'll also call her friends and it'll be like a support team of women, and they'll be like, you're so much better, you deserve so much more, it's just like the support team, a group of women. But then if a guy gets broken up with, he'll go on Google and it's like, what to do if I got broken up with. Then he sees like female nature, like you got to start doing this and that and the third. And then, maybe he'll Discord call one of his friends, and he'll be like, yeah, bro, I'm sorry that happened, and then like maybe they'll kind of have a conversation about it, but then he hangs up and then it ends. And I feel like women are just provided more of like a fun sort of way to recover from breakups and things like that, versus men are just provided like this, like, black and white, like you're done for kind of narrative. And it's just interesting to see, how that works, if that makes sense.
No, I feel that 100%. I'm really, really, really glad you said that because this is something I've been saying for a while. I feel like women process their emotion, and I'm speaking in generalities here. There are obviously exceptions, but women typically process their emotions men use their emotions, or like they, how do I put this? They resist their emotions, but a lot of times they'll do it with intention. So for example, when a guy breaks up, he's like for me personally, when I got my heart broken for the first time, I still to this day I give her credit because that single-handedly got me to 100,000 subscribers. I used that pain. Anytime where I might be up late at night, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm editing a video. I'm like, man, I don't even really need to edit this video. I could just miss a day of uploading. It won't make a difference. And then I'll just think about the things that she said to me. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. And it just like that fueled me for a long time. But then eventually I realized that that's not a fulfilling way to live, nor is it sustainable, at least for me. I feel like when you have a certain level of awareness, I'm not saying I'm like better or anything like that, but when you're spiritually inclined, I'll just say it like that, it's not possible. You can't hold on to that weight because you're aware that you can just let go of it. So to me, learning to process my emotions, that was an uphill battle for sure. But writing Soul Shock, that was pretty much, that's what that book is. It's me learning to work through my emotions, me being vulnerable, and ideally giving other men a space to be vulnerable. I've had guys hit me up, or like you said, some guys have made videos about some of the poems from the book, but I've had guys hit me up in the emails or so on and so forth and say like, yo man, that book made me cry. I'm like, that's exactly why I wrote it. I want you to cry while reading the book. I want you to process your emotions in ways that you haven't been taught to. Because to your point about business, going into the STEM field, let's say, for example, you want to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people don't understand that entrepreneurship is not just analytics. You have to have emotional intelligence. That's how you solve problems. You have to be in tune with your left and your right brain. And I feel like for me personally, that's what's enabled me to kind of grow so quickly on YouTube is I got in tune with both sides, but a lot of that was because of the experience of having my heart broken and having to tap into that empathetic side.
Yeah.
And from that, finding that, oh, this is actually very fulfilling when you can take logic and emotion or emotional intelligence and intertwine the two toward one common purpose. Not only will you achieve that purpose usually at a much more desirable pace, but you'll enjoy the journey a lot more. You'll find a lot more fulfillment as opposed to, I do this so that I can do this or so that I can get this or live this way. It's like, no, I'm helping people. And the other stuff is just a byproduct. Like we said earlier, the people who are the wisest have been through the most shit.
Yeah.
And I think that it's time for men to start acknowledging that, yo, we've been through some shit. And we've been conditioned to believe that we're not supposed to acknowledge it. We're not supposed to allow it to phase us. But it's phasing you either way. It's fucking you up. It's fucking you up. Like a lot of people, they're like I'm very grateful for Kendrick Lamar for dropping the album that he dropped this year. It's basically just one big therapy session. And I think a lot of men needed it, especially a song like Father Time. He said grown men with daddy issues. Like that shit, people need to start propagating that message. And that's something that I take upon myself, not just through my writing, but through my content as well, to push that narrative that, hey, I think the fact that we're able to feel emotions is maybe an indication that we're supposed to feel emotions.
Yeah.
And that's logical.
Mm-hmm.
Soapbox.
No, yeah. No, and I think the problem is that guys feel the only medium to express their emotions through is their girlfriend. So then when they get broken up with or something and then they don't tap into that emotional creative energy in any way, shape, or form, inner child, whatever you want to call it, then it's like that girl took so much more from you than like she should have, because guys feel like they have to, maybe that this is like wrong or too cut and dry, but I feel like the problem why heartbreak can hurt more for guys is because it's like there's no other medium to express your emotions through other than the girl that you're dating, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you can do that yourself, and then that way you're less dependent on her if you take a holistic approach to life and dating. Otherwise, if you don't, then that's why it's like, you get all tense because it's like, okay, I'm expressing my emotions through this girl, but I've never expressed my emotions ever in the timeline of my life. It's just through her. That's why it hurts so much more. It's not really about her. It's about the lack of emotional expression and, you know, feeling as though that it's only not taboo if you, you know, use a girlfriend for that. So truly becoming more creative will just make you less codependent, things like that.
100%. And I do feel like I said earlier, as content creators, it's our responsibility to provide these safe spaces to these young men or older men, however old they are, to just embrace more of themselves. And through that, to find the top of that pyramid, to go through the crown chakra and see that deeper truth that allows you to live life in the present moment and not only enjoy your own company more, but enjoy the presence of other people more and really get the most out of relationships or whatever it is that you choose to do. But with that being said, we are at the 3-hour mark. So we're going to go ahead and wrap the stream up.
Yeah.
Do you have like an outro that you like to do, or do you just, because like me, I just cut my shit off most of the time.
Just subscribe to Girlfriend Guide for Guys.
You love to see it. You love to see it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream or found some insight, or at the very least learned that Jeeps are inferior cars. But outside of that, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, for donating the money, for those of you who donated money, and even more so donating the time, donating the attention, the most valuable currency that there is. We greatly appreciate you guys, and I'll be live next Saturday. I'm posting every day, of course. What's your upload schedule like right now?
Oh gosh, I don't have like an official one yet. I try to post on Wednesdays and Fridays or sometimes Saturdays. I don't have an official one yet, but
okay. Well, she's been posting. I've been seeing her post a lot. So go and subscribe to Girlfriend Guide for Guys. I have a link in the description to her channel. Go and check her out. She makes great content, very insightful, very objective, I'll say. So I appreciate that personally, and I know you guys will as well. And with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream.